What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me, but I just got home off of an early morning flight, right? First thing through the door, I want to see my family. I love my family. You know, I'm a family man. I'm an advocate for families, right? Second thing, I got to get that hot shower because I got to throw the threads on. The threads make me feel like $1,000,000, but the third thing through my mind and all throughout the trip is that I gotta have that Tej pack. Tej makes my life uncomplicated. It's uncomplicated skincare for men. The first way that I started specifically was their level 1 system. It's a daily face wash to get rid of the dirt and grime on your skin. 2 times per week exfoliating scrub to get rid of the dead skin cells. An AM moisturizer with SPF 20 because you should always be protecting your skin from the sun. And a PM moisturizer to help your skin stay hydrated and healthy throughout the night. Here's the thing. My favorite part about Tej Henley is that every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. They really making the process of achieving and maintaining amazing skin for men uncomplicated. In addition to amazing skin, members of Tej Henley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off the retail price, the ability to customize your box, exclusive monthly deals, you can pause and cancel at any time, and you get free shipping. And because Tej Henley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers an amazing deal, right? Just click the first link in the description and you get 30% off your first box, plus a free gift. It's an amazing deal. You got to get started today. You're not out here trying to look like a Dusty. And if you travel as much as I do, which I'm sure most people don't, but you know me, I'm pushing my bag chasers in order to be in the top 5%, top 10%, top 1%. We got to make our lives uncomplicated, and Tej Henley is no better product. You got to look good. You got to smell good. And you can't be looking like a Dusty. Make sure you get started today. Click the link in the description. Get that Tej pack. Feel the Tej, my friends. What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Thank you for tuning in for another edition of the Millionaire Morning Show. I'm your host, Anton Daniels, and this is the first show of the year, season 4. It's not quite 4 years because we started it like towards the end of 2019, I believe. But we absolutely made it to season 4. Give yourselves a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Give yourselves a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I am out here in beautiful Miami Beach. Let me give you guys a little bit of a preview. It's a lot of people out there on the beach. They out there, they having a good time. And guess what we doing? We hustling. I got a different mindset, a different mood that I'm in going forward through this year. I hope y'all rolling with me. I hope y'all understand the great opportunities that's coming along with what we got going on. And I'm going to break that down for you a little bit closer towards the end of the show. So I want to make sure that we get a little bit more airtight. I know that some of the shows are going to go over a little bit over the 2 hours, but I want to make sure that we do everything on time, on schedule, and take care of business. We'll get to that in a minute. Let me get a general sentiment of what y'all talking about and how y'all feel going into this new year. Let me know in the chat how y'all feel. How y'all feel? How y'all feel starting off this new year? Are you going into it blazing? Do you feel like you need to get yourself together? Are you getting your New Year's resolutions together? How do y'all feel going into the new year? I see you, Bola. My dog, Kojak, Power Washing Pro in the building. Mary Alonzo, true to myself. Cassandra, Clove Cunningham in the building. What up? Give me one word. One word, general sentiment. Renewed, excited. I like that. Awesome. Nice to see you here without a hat. Yeah, I got the hat right here. It's chilling. I just don't feel like wearing a hat right now, to be honest with you. Good morning, AD, says Ari Reed. What up, Ari? I'm coming to get that cooking, Ari. Optimistic, productive, fired up, ready. Happy New Year from Miami, Florida. Shout out to Trap and Slay. Trap and Slay, I might have to come and see you before I head back to the city. Shh. Blessed. Shout out to my dog, Ray Sean. Fresh. Said, need to be grind mode. Happy New Year. Excited, hopeful, motivated, refreshed, blessed, excited, ready, guns blazing, positive, and energized. It's going to be a great year. I think so. I think it's going to be an incredible year. Great. New Year, same mission. Motivated more than ever before. Excited, alive, Mamba Yeet. Focused, hustling, motivated, happy, motivated, year to level up, ready. Ready to level up, bag chasing as usual, determined, stupendous. Happy New Year, feeling hungry, ready, ecstatic. Getting ready for the travel contract work at the end of the week. I like that. Great, hungry, consistent, amazing. Going in hot, coach, excited, powerful. Super improving, elevated, prosperous, super hype, inspired, free, needing some encouragement. Not in the beginning of the year. I got you. I got you. I'm going to be the lightning rod in your life. Tired, happy. Happy New Year, Anton and everyone. Waiting, nervous, blessed, ready, futuristic, ecstatic, optimistic, feeling blessed and able to see a new year. Upward, concerned when you're coming out here to Tampa, probably in about a month. Creative. I got a whole tour that I think I'm going to start off in March. So in March. You should have reviewed the rest of the WNBA video. She don't believe the NBA would beat them soundly either. Exemplary, innovative, official tissue. All right. I got you, Ari. Hold on. Let me make sure that I get Ari out here in these streets, man. In these streets, man. In these streets, man. All right, we'll get there. We'll figure it out. Anyways, make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. We going up and forward. We not looking back in our rear view. We can't go back to 2023, 2022 to pass. Anybody that did you dirty, anybody that did you wrong, you need to forget it, let it go, and let's keep it moving, all right? So I'm going to give y'all a breakdown of what my expectations are going into this year. But I'm going to do that towards the end of the show because we got to keep it tight. We got an agenda. Let me read some of these super chats. First of all, let me give an applause to my dog, Mike, that dude. Put me off with the first Cash App of the year, so I appreciate you. Also, I want to give a shout out to everybody that tuned in to After Hours last night. I know it was a little bit past some of y'all bedtime. And our after hour show is probably going to be a lot earlier, probably around the 9:30, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time zone. But I wanted to get the first show kicked off and right so that I could set expectations and then tweak it, right? We're going to just do tweaking. That's what we're going to do this year. We're going to tweak everything that we do. As we go through the year, we're going to make incremental improvements so that we have the best product and that we just consistently improve. This is the Agile methodology. I don't want to get into that yet. I'm so hype. I don't want to get into that yet. Hold on one second. Sports Harley Gerard with the first super chat of the year says, I wish everyone peace, health, and prosperity this new year. Anton, I can't even call the Lions to the front of the church. They got robbed on. Everybody know that the referees robbed the Lions. Everybody know that they got robbed. That's not even a question. Thank you for the super chat. Also, I want to give a shout out to Spaces. Says Happy New Year, everybody in the building. Shout out to Spaces. Paul Johnson says, Anton, I appreciated all of the game you dropping. At 22 years old, I hit 10K in my 401K. My company paying for my MBA, and I'm cutting debt because of the game that you give. I appreciate you. No, I appreciate you. Let me say this before we get started with the show, and we're going to go right into it, all right? The first thing is I want y'all to make sure y'all support that Teach Henley. They are a sponsor of the show. Teach, 30% off your first order plus a free gift. Lady, get it for your fellas. Fellas, don't wait for the ladies to get it for you. It is a great product, and you need to rock out with that Teach Henley. They are absolutely a sponsor of the show for the entire year. They signed a contract for the entire year. So shout out to Teach Henley. Secondly, I'm looking for, and we're actually putting the media kit, we're updating the media kit to go out there and send it out to sponsors. They gotta come with the bag. We're looking for sponsors for the Anton Daniels channel and for After Hours, all right? So if you are a company or an individual or have a product to promote, make sure you tap into After Hours with Anton Daniels. That's another channel. And then also on top of that, I want y'all to make sure that y'all tap into the Anton Daniels channel, which we will be live streaming for the Q show tonight. So make sure y'all get that popping. And then last but not least, and this is the most important thing, I have some incredible interviews lined up. One of the things that we're doing in the Patreon this weekend on Sunday morning, we are doing Stock Club. So I want to get started right away. Before I even drop an interview, before I even drop a video right after that, I want to do Stock Club this Sunday morning. So Probably in a couple days, right after I get back to the crib, because I'm gonna fly back to Detroit tomorrow. I want you guys to make sure, first of all, the best day to sign up for the Patreon is always going to be the first of the month. The best day to sign up for the Patreon. Some people, most people sign up for the entire year. The best day to sign up for the Patreon is the first day of the month. So if you are not a bag chaser, if you are not a Patreon member, the link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. It more than pays for itself for most people if you leverage and utilize the information accordingly. For the bag chasers, for wherever it is that I stop at, you already know that I do meetups. I'm also going to be doing a tour this year, and you guys will be getting in for free. So it more than pays for itself just with the financial advice. Make sure you tap into the Discord. The link to the Discord is in any of the most recent videos inside of the Patreon. So if you are not a bag chaser, if you're not a Patreon member, even if you're not subscribed to this channel, link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. It's the best, literally the best Patreon on the face of this earth, bar none. All right, unlimited information. Stock Club is this Sunday. I'm gonna be dropping that link as far as where you go because it's gonna be exclusive just to Patreon members, and that's what we talking about on Sunday. And then we going off with the interviews, the everything else. Y'all know what all comes with it. The Investing in Business series, everything. All right. And then one more super chat before we get started with the show. My name is Corey is in the building. Says Happy New Year to you and yours, big dog. Looking forward to seeing all your growth this year and beyond. And big happy birthday to all of my fellow 1984 babies. We the big 4-0 this year. Shout out to the 84 people and the Chasers. All right. So let's go ahead and get started with the show. I'm going to give my thoughts on what my goals are going into this year towards the end of the show. But we got a big show. We got a lot to cover. Hayes, I'm definitely going to be reading that super chat shortly, my guy. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the show. First things first is Japan, all right, before we even get into the quick hits, because there was a lot of tragedy that happened while we were all celebrating the new year, while we was enjoying what was happening out here in these streets. Over in Japan, they were hit with an earthquake that apparently triggered a tsunami warning. Take a look and let me bring you up to date of what's going on out here in these Japanese streets.
A quiet New Year's Day in the coastal city of Suzu on Japan's west coast. Then a major earthquake hits. Just inland on a residential street, a man struggles to keep upright. Seconds later, the roof of a house splits apart.
Hold on. I just want to show something really quickly. Y'all want to know what my daughter is doing? She's training. I didn't even know she was training. My daughter is literally training because she got a tournament for Taekwondo and she want to have a bigger year because she's on the USA team. And she wants to have a bigger year, and she's literally on a balcony training. Let me get back over to this Japanese tsunami, y'all. I'm sorry. I just had to show y'all what was going on in my household and what's happening with my people out here in these streets, man.
A quiet New Year's Day in the coastal city of Suzu on Japan's west coast. Then a major earthquake hits. Just inland on a residential street, a man struggles to keep upright. Seconds later, the roof of a house splits apart. In the street behind, a building collapses, sending up a cloud of dust. In the subway, the platforms start to rock. And then the lights go out. Above ground in Myoko, a ski resort, frightened tourists are caught in their vans and cars. The 7.6 quake in the Sea of Japan, close to Ishikawa Prefecture, is the largest recorded in the Noto Peninsula since records began. A tsunami warning was issued and people living along hundreds of miles of coast have been told to move to higher ground. A 1-metre wave reached the coast 10 minutes after the earthquake, but there is a warning of a 3-metre tsunami for the Noto region.
It's absolute chaos that's happening over in Japan. And Japan is actually one of the cities that was on my bucket list. It was at the very, very top of my bucket list of places to visit last year, and I had an opportunity to spend like 7 to 10 days in Japan or something like that over in Tokyo, and I had a great time. And so I plan on visiting Japan at least once every few years just to get refreshed, just to see what's happening in the culture. They have a great sense of fashion. They got great culture. It's different people there. They all respect what's happening. They don't even have trash cans, but there's not an ounce of trash on the street. It is a great place to visit. But even though Japan is at the top of my list as far as the places that I would live in outside of the United States, this just shows you that no matter where you pick, there's always going to be issues. Even here within the United States, right? If you go over to the West Coast, you got to deal with water shortages, droughts, earthquakes, mudslides, all kind of crap over there. If you live over on the East Coast, but they got great weather, right? Over on the West Coast. Live over on the East Coast, you got to deal with snow. You got to deal with, if you're in the South, you got to deal with hurricanes. If you're up in the Midwest, you probably got to deal with some tornadoes. If you're in Chicago, you got to deal with O-Block. So everybody, we're going to get there in a minute. Everybody somewhere is dealing with something that may not necessarily be the best of environments. It's going to be a trade-off. It's a yin and a yang everywhere.
Japan's Prime Minister told people to leave.
I'd
like to ask all residents to continue to pay close attention to this strong earthquake. If you're in a region where a tsunami is expected, please evacuate as soon as possible.
That's not always straightforward.
It's crazy.
I'm trying to evacuate, but the road is blocked, says this woman filming close to the epicenter. She says her house is destroyed. This time, the threat of a major tsunami has passed, a relief for a country with painful memories of 2011 and the earthquake and tsunami which resulted in the deaths of 18,000 people and the
Do y'all remember? I don't know if anybody was remember, because a lot of times we don't really pay attention to the things that go on outside of what's happening in our city, let alone the United States. But I went back a lot of times, like on a regular basis, I go back and I look at different things that happen in history because I love watching historical videos now that I have more context, now that I'm older. Even from 9/11, right? I went back and I watched videos from 9/11. And then in addition to that, I'll go back and I'll watch the videos from that last Japanese tsunami that absolutely devastated everything and destroyed so many people's lives. And it was just so bad. It was pretty much a natural disaster, and it affected nuclear facilities and everything, right? And so I'm very thankful to live where I live. I think that even being in the Midwest is probably one of the safest places, even though it may not be ideal as far as weather. Having a home base in the Midwest is very, very blessed.
Fukushima nuclear disaster. But experts say because today's quake was near the surface, it will still have a big impact on land.
It's a shallow earthquake, 10 kilometers, and there will be a lot of shaking on land. And that shaking could lead to a destruction of buildings and also roads. And there is also been not a lot of communication because of power outages. So over the next few hours and maybe days, as rescue teams get into the area, we may well find that the major impact of this earthquake is on land and with collapsed buildings and perhaps people trapped and dying in that situation.
As fire rages in a city hit by the earthquake, the fear is what people in this part of Japan will find when they wake up tomorrow.
I couldn't imagine. Every video that I watched to try to understand this and see what was happening over in Japan, it seems like everybody knew exactly what to do immediately once it started happening. It's like they hit the floor, and they just made the adjustments. And it's almost like they just know what's going to happen because they're so used to it. I just couldn't permanently live in a space where this is something that could just happen as a regular natural occurrence, or as we continue to mess up what's happening out here in these streets. Shout out to Ash. I'm going to read that super chat shortly. as we continue to pay attention to what's happening out here in these streets as far as the ever-evolving climates that we live in, or the rising of the sea levels, more hurricanes, more, and the hurricanes is even worse. A lot of these hurricanes have so much plastic in it from our pollution into the ocean, the rising of the sea levels, more mudslides than ever before, more volatile weather, decimation of what's going on as far as methane going into the air from feeding of animals for human consumption, and overuse of fossil fuels, and how it's absolutely upending what's happening in other countries. A lot of people are not familiar because, like, I see people that say stuff all the time and they say, oh no, we love oil, we love our oil vehicles, and that's cool because I love mine too. But I am aware that the biggest polluters are first world countries like the United States of America and Japan and China, which then contributes to, and why the United Nations and huge countries are now compensating countries that are getting swallowed up, islands and countries that are getting swallowed up, because they're the ones that are the most affected by the sea level rise and the melting of the ice caps that then affect what's going on in other countries. So we're very privileged in that we just go on and tear up everything, and we continue to grab up all of the oil, and we use the techniques in order to make our lifestyles better, but we don't really pay attention to how it's affecting other people. And because I'm aware of it, because I research that type of thing, I think about it a little bit differently. So when I'm trying to make a conscious decision or an educated decision in order to, try to figure out whether or not I'm making a right decision as an individual consumer in a global world, I take that into consideration. It's a lot of countries and a lot of places that are not first world. They may be third world, or they may not have the economic power that we have, or China or anything like that. And they're absolutely being decimated by what's going on as far as what we are doing over here or what they're doing over there. You never stand under the sign. I know you holding on to the railing, but you never stand up under the sign when an earthquake is coming. That's crazy.
一発目到着中、津波一発目到達中、萩浦橋到達、萩浦橋到達中。
When I was over in Japan in August of last year, they actually had a tsunami warning. Even though nothing came of it, they actually had a warning, and we couldn't go over to certain other parts of Japan from Tokyo because they had a tsunami warning while we were there. Thankfully, nothing happened though. I see you, Max. Again, I just couldn't imagine going through it. So prayers up to the people over there in Japan. I don't have to necessarily be there in order to understand that humans are suffering, and there will always be suffering in this world. And I'm just thankful that I don't have to deal with it. But at the same time, I don't want other people to be able to, or to have to suffer more than they need to. And let me read a few of the super chats, and then we're going to get started for real with the show with the quick hits. I just wanted to keep y'all guys up to date on what's going on there. My name is Corey, says Happy New Year to you and yours, big dog. Looking forward to seeing all of your growth this year and beyond. A big happy birthday. Oh, yeah, I read that one. Shout out to you again. My name is Corey. I appreciate you. Hayes. What up, Hayes? Says, Ty, dog, I sent you an email about a coaching session. Got a lot to catch you up on. Got something attached to it as well. Okay, bet. I'm going to put my people on it. I'm hiring a new assistant, too, on top of that. I'm hiring an additional assistant, so I got my people on it. I got you, Hayes. Delta Fox with the 20 ball says, my net worth was negative 80,000 at the beginning of 2003, and it's now 2023, and it's now 74,000 after paying off $120,000 in debt. Maxing out the 401k and having a savings for an emergency, my income went from 196 in 2022 to 330 this year, aiming for 400 to 600 in 2024. All right, but here's the thing, Delta Fox, and congratulations. But here's the thing. This is what we want to do now going forward. It's not just about saving. Now it's about how you can keep the majority of your income. See, once you move into certain levels, I'm not going to go into it right now, but once you move into certain levels, that's actually one of the first Patreon videos that I'm dropping. The game changes from trying to figure out how you can make more money to trying to figure out how you can get rid of more money so you don't have to pay as much in taxes. But we going to get there. We got so much to cover in the Patreon this year. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Got my dog Ash in the building with the 100 ball on the first of the year. Happy New Year 2024 from Victoria and I. Shout out to Victoria, to you and Rita. May God continue to bless you and your family. You don't miss. Never. Ash. Listen, you would think that I was in the military or the Air Force or the Army or special services or something, the way that I don't miss. I operate with the level of discipline of a Japanese monk. Hush, hush, hush. Shout out to you, Ash. I appreciate you. Thank you for holding me down. Absolutely one of my favorite people out here in these streets. All right, y'all ready? Y'all ready to get really get into the show? All right, let's get to it, man. This is your quick hits, ladies and gentlemen, a segment of the show that we don't necessarily think deserves an entire segment dedicated to it, but we still want to keep you guys up to date of what's going on in these streets. All right, first things first, Mark Zuckerberg is really under fire. I wouldn't say under fire. I would say that they're paying close attention to him because, number one, when you get a certain level of resources, you have no privacy. But secondly, people want to know what kind of moves you're making, not just technology, not just when it comes to your finances, not just when it comes to your relationships. They want to know what life decisions that you're making because they start to get a little bit more spooked out. But he's allegedly building a bunker in Hawaii, an underground $100 million bunker in Hawaii. Take a look at what they're saying out here in these streets.
How many have seen The Last of Us in the zombie apocalypse? I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind. I mean, it's at first, and second of all, Hawaii is obviously an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. If there's something that really goes south, how long can you last without supplies?
That's where it takes me. You know, during the coronavirus pandemic lockdowns, people lost their minds.
Yeah.
After being at home for 6 months, and we still could go to the grocery store.
You could argue that people have still lost their minds.
Right.
There's a hangover there.
And we still had the outside. We, you know, we weren't literally in our homes without fresh air. So to me, I wonder how practical these truly are. And I get it. When you've got a lot of money, you can just say, well, it might not be practical, but we'll do it just in
but I mean,
case.
the question is, what do they know that we don't know, right? I mean, they're building these underground is this just a natural human nature towards thinking that these are the end times, our times, the end times?
Call me cynical, but I think there's like the only fear being played here by billionaires is FOMO, the fear of missing out. Like that billionaire has a new toy.
Yeah, my neighbor had a flat screen TV. I had it.
Right, it's like keeping up with the Joneses kind of mentality.
But the money piece is a powerful piece, and they want to live forever. And none of us are going to live forever.
Yeah.
And if you've got too much money, then you can go build
you should put in cryogenics. And,
that
exactly.
They probably already got that.
All right, Steve, I want your take real.
Let me tell you something, bro. I don't think it has anything to do with living forever at all. I think that they be knowing stuff, or they're privy to certain information, or they're probably at the forefront of what's going to happen before it happens. They probably are the ones that's creating it. And so they're building in extra protections for themselves. And you're not going to sit here and tell me that the dude is building a $100 million underground bunker for no reason. Time Magazine went into this, and Wired investigated it. And they said that they plan to build a 5,000 square foot underground shelter on their Hawaii ranch with its own energy, food supplies. They said that the plan is that the shelter's door will be made of metal and filled in with concrete, common in bunkers and bomb shelters. They went on to say that the bunker-like construction is just one part of a sprawling 1,400-acre compound, and planning documents obtained by Wired showed the partially completed compound is set to include more than a dozen buildings with at least 30 bedrooms and 30 bathrooms, including 2 standalone mansions. There's also plans for 11 tree houses, as well as a fitness center, guest houses, and operations building. It's not clear from the reports and planning what the intent of the underground shelter is, and in response to questions from Time about the project and the purpose of the bunker, Brandy Holfeen-Barr, a spokesperson for Zuckerberg and Chan, noted that Kauai County encourages homeowners to build shelters, and that the county is starting to offer residents a tax break for building hurricane-resistant safe rooms from 2 decades ago. I'm not going for it. You're not going to sell me on it. You're not going to sit here and tell me that they building these massive underground bunkers and shelters just because they're getting tax breaks from it. Nope. That's great spokesperson speak, but that don't fly with me. In other news, an Indianapolis Colts player, Andrew Ogletree, is basically suspended indefinitely, and he slammed his girlfriend, according to court documents, after getting into an argument with her after she accused him of cheating and she grabbed his phone. You can't make this up. Take a look, man.
Well, less than 24 hours after his arrest on felony domestic battery charges, Colts tight end Drew Ogletree has been placed on the NFL Commissioner's exempt list. That means he's not allowed to practice or attend any games. Both would be pretty difficult since Ogletree is still being held without bond at the Hendricks County Jail. The charges stem from an incident that happened the day after Christmas. According to court records we obtained, Ogletree's girlfriend told police that he body slammed her during an argument. As we reported last night, police say she and Ogletree began arguing after she accused him of cheating, broke his phone, and then attempted to hit him. Court documents go on to say that she told police he picked her up and then threw her down on her back. However, Ogletree claims he pushed her out of the way as she attempted to hit him, leading to those injuries. Now, being placed on the NFL Commissioner's exempt list temporarily makes a player exempt from the counting against the 53-player active roster while investigations such as this one unfold. He is in his second year of his rookie contract and due to earn $915,000 next year and $1.1 million in 2025.
And one thing that you want to make sure that you don't do while you're in your rookie contract, trying to make sure that you get the biggest bag possible, is to be around somebody that you then either feel like you need to put your hands on, or to be around people that truly don't understand what your lifestyle is. Now, the question that I have to ask myself is, do she not know what the nature of most of these players are? If you're talking to anybody that is an NBA player, a high-profile player, or anything like that, and they make a significant amount of money, ladies, just my question, because I'm not sure what happened. None of us knows what happens. It's a he said, she said. She said that he was cheating. I don't even think that he married, so I don't even know how he could be cheating. She grabbed his phone and then put her hands on him, and then he allegedly, according to her, picked her up and body slammed her. He said he just pushed her out of the way. For me, it's a no-go. You just going to have to go ahead and go on, especially if we ain't got no kids anyway. You could just get on out the house, and we ain't got to worry about it because I'm not fumbling no bags for you at all. But ladies, honestly, when y'all go after these high-profile guys that have a lot of visibility and is on an upswing and they make a decent amount of money, do you guys actually expect for them to be faithful to you? Don't worry about it. That's a conversation that we need to have on After Hours. And then last but not least, DJ Academics, who I detailed and documented last night on After Hours. It was a great show, and we're going to detail and document even more on Tuesday night. But tonight we're going to do the Anton Daniels channel. We're going to do the Hey Q show, and we're going to have a great time on it. But DJ Academics is under fire, and a lot of these feminists are even calling for DJ Academics cancellation. But DJ Academics is basically saying that his girlfriend reportedly stole at least $500,000 from his house and also had to leverage information against him in order to try to take advantage of him. He claimed that his former girlfriend, stole $500,000 in cash from his home. Now, first of all, a fool with money is soon parted from it. Why are you keeping $500,000, 50 guns, and all of this stuff inside of your household? Let me say that again. Why would anybody keep between $500,000 and $1 million in cash in their house for the girl to be able to steal in the first place? You know, she got to walk out with a whole duffel bag. Neither here nor there. We haven't gotten to that part of the story on After Hours yet. That's further of a dissection that we're going to do. While putting a woman on blast, he claimed that he used to have $1 million in cash at his house before his former partner, not wife, former partner reportedly stole half. Additionally, Act claimed that the woman would constantly try to peek in his emails in hopes of finding leverage of the content creator. He said, I could have had her locked up for 40 years. He ain't nothing but a simp. However, the commenters online weren't especially sympathetic after hearing Act's story, and they kept saying that he's giving off sucker energy, and they see why she did it. He said, you gave her the codes to your safe. What the F? Bro still took her back and ain't pressed charges. She up 40-0 on him. He goes on to say that, it's rumors that people were sleeping with her and all of this stuff, and it's a lot of things that's happening in his life. But to be honest with you, I just think that academics is just a fool with money at this point. I don't think that he really understands the impacts of his decisions. I don't think he understands the fact that he's a 32-year-old dude that's a target for everybody, that he's crashing out, he's drinking Hennessy every day, he's hanging around hanger-ons that people don't really care for him, he has a bad friend group, and obviously he has no OGs to point him in the right direction to get him to do the thing that he's supposed to do. So I'm worried for academics, honestly. I'm genuinely worried for academics, and this is one of the reasons why you have to have character and you have to have structure, because character is the thing that's going to keep you as you become successful, and you're not going to be out here crashing out. But anyways, neither here nor there. That is your quick hits, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to go ahead and get started with the show, my guy. All right. I'm going to read the super chat shortly. Let's get started with the show, y'all. First and foremost, nothing has changed out here in these streets except for you. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Don't matter the fact that it's a new year, 2024. You thought that people was going to change their behaviors. Immediately, you went for a treat.
Were shot inside of a home in the first homicide of the new year in Chicago.
Glenn Marshall's live at University of Chicago Hospital, where the 2 victims are being treated. Good morning, Glenn.
Hey, good morning, guys. Now, those 2 victims are here at University of Chicago Hospital after they were shot inside of a home. Police are saying the bullets actually came through a window, killing another man. Now, this happened around 12:45 this morning inside of the home that sits near the corner of 70th and South Wabash in the Greater Grand Crossing neighborhood. Police are saying they were called to the home and found 3 victims suffering from gunshot wounds. A 53-year-old man was shot multiple times. He was pronounced dead at the scene. A 48-year-old woman was shot in the arm. She was taken here to UFC Hospital in fair condition. A 49-year-old woman is also here at UFC Hospital after she was shot in the side of the head. She's listed in critical condition. Police believe the suspect's gunfire came through a window of that home. As of right now, Area 1 detectives, they are investigating this shooting, but so far, no one has been placed in custody. For now, we're live.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Yo, all of these people were in their 40s and 50s. They don't want to tell you that it was actually a drive-by shooting. It wasn't just a random shooting into a house. Everybody got hit. One 53-year-old man is dead. The first homicide of the year happens on New Year's Eve, right after the ball dropped, right after they got it in Central Time Zone. And then they went ahead and made sure that they put themselves at the top of Anton's radar as far as holding Chicago accountable. But it didn't just happen in Chicago. Of course, crime was happening all across the United States of America, and they just so happen to be happening in urban communities.
A developing story overnight here from Southwest Houston. Man's in the hospital after being shot in the head while driving through a residential neighborhood.
Zach Lashway joins us live from the scene along Clairwood Drive with more on what happened. Good morning, Zach.
Haley, not the way you want to start off 2024. As people were celebrating ringing in the new year, shots were ringing out here along Clairwood Drive. Still an active scene out here. Investigators are on scene taking photos of the vehicle as we speak. According to police, a man in his 20s was driving along Clairwood Drive late last night, minutes before midnight, when he encountered a man he knew. The 2 men got into an argument and multiple rounds were fired during the altercation. The victim was struck at least once in the head. He continued to drive, hitting several light poles before coming to a stop. He is in critical condition. Police are now searching for that suspect. Some good news, though, out here this morning. I was told Centerpoint was out here on scene. I have not seen them, but I can tell you the lights appear to be on at all the nearby homes.
That sounds like some incredible news, Bob. Over in Houston, we go from Chicago. See, Houston, they said, listen, we just going to take your head off. We don't necessarily expect from you to die from it. So Houston, they did it a little bit different. Theirs was really personal. Dude driving down the street, middle of the night, going into the new year, got his Chevy Suburban / Tahoe, and he get into an argument, and then the dude go ahead and pull out a pistol and try to take his head off. He crashes into a tree. Thank God it wasn't into somebody else's house, and now he's in critical condition. But let's not stop there. Why not just go ahead and go all the way across the United States of America while we add it into all of these urban cities?
And the new year begins with breaking news right off the top at 6 o'clock. This breaking news is 2024 just getting underway with a violent start. 9 people hurt this morning, including 3 officers after a driver tried to flee some kind of dispute, drove the wrong way, plowing into a food truck, and then people just on the sidewalk.
Just a mess. Let's get right to Janice Yu, who is in Midtown with the very latest. Janice, good morning.
Good morning, Shirlene and Mike. Certainly a chaotic situation here to start off the new year. So right now, 34th between 8th and 9th remains closed as this investigation continues. And I want to show you the path that this car took. So it went onto the sidewalk of 9th Avenue, and you can see all of the debris and wreckage in front of this restaurant called Chirp. That car then went down the street and ultimately crashed into another black car. You can see the cars, they are still here in front of this parking lot. Here's another look at the aftermath from the Citizen app. There were many first responders here on scene. This all happened just after 1:30 as people were...
This is New York. So we went from Chicago to Houston to New York. All right. New Year's Eve. Welcome to 2024.
Out enjoying their New Year's Eve celebration. So this only added to the traffic headache that was already here. Now, it's believed the driver initially went the wrong way on 7th Avenue before turning westbound onto 34th Street. It then crashed into that other black car, and video shows the front passenger window of that Mercedes smashed. Right now, it's not clear what that damage is from, if that's from crashing into the restaurant here or if that's from that earlier dispute.
Thank you for the super chat. I'll be reading that shortly.
As of now, we're told at least 6 pedestrians were hurt. 3 officers were also hurt. The good news here is that we're told they are all stable. Now, the 44-year-old driver of that Mercedes, which, by the way, has New Jersey license plates, that driver was taken to the hospital. Charges are pending. But again, road closures in this area, so keep that in mind if you're out.
Some people are telling me, I did a little bit more research into this story, and some people were telling me that it was probably more of a carjacking. And then it wasn't just a dispute. But we're living in a time where they say that protests or people out here tearing up and destroying things are just large gatherings, that carjackings are domestic disputes turned violent, that people shooting in the homes are not drive-by shootings anymore. They are random shootings. And for me, I don't find myself out here in the thick of things at the times that people want to be out here in the thick of things when everybody else is just food. On the biggest drinking day of the year, I think it's the day after Thanksgiving, I usually find myself in the house because I know that the police is out here prowling for drunk drivers. On New Year's Eve, usually I'm working, right? I spent the entire weekend grinding, working, hustling, literally preparing myself to go and blazing into the new year to make sure that we launch all of these platforms seamlessly without any kind of problems. And so the thing that I'm trying to convey to you guys is that nothing has changed. Things are worse than they ever been before. As a matter of fact, I will go so far as to saying that when you look at going into this new year, you have to understand that there's going to be a bigger divide between the haves, the have-nots, the criminals and the citizens. the people that want to do the right thing, and the people that has intentions to do the wrong thing. And so you have to be very, very careful, situationally aware, and don't even put yourself in a circumstance that would then cause for you to have to become defensive in the first place. The only thing that's changed is us for the better. The only thing that changed is us for the better. We make better decisions. We gonna make more money. We gonna separate ourselves from people that don't have our best interests at heart. We're not even gonna put ourselves in a situation to where we have to try to figure out what went wrong in the first place. We're not gonna have no self-inflicted wounds. We already understand that it rains on the just and the unjust. So we're going to go through things by default of just being human on this earth. That's just the way that it is. Things happen to us, things don't happen to us. Some people are a little bit more lucky with the cards that they dealt. Some people played a hand that they got a little bit better than the people that got dealt the good hand in the first place, right? And so we're playing this game of life, and it's really poker. But the reality is that why have a self-inflicted wound and go and play poker in a dark alley at a gaming hall instead of being a little bit more careful and making more informed decisions to where you don't even put yourself in that situation in the first place? Now, I'm not telling you that you can't have fun. I'm not telling you that you can't do great things. I'm not telling you don't go out and participate in society. But man, I'm telling you, bro, I'm not going to be in certain spaces. I'm not going to be around certain people. A lot of times y'all already know who the pookie is. You know who the dude that's carrying a pistol. You know the dude that's been arrested. I don't want to be in that environment. I don't want to be around that. I want to be in spaces where I know it's a stronger possibility for me to have some good, clean fun. And then more importantly, to be honest with you, I'm not even on that at all this year. In 2024, I am heads down, hustling, grinding, and putting my all into trying to make as much money as I could possibly make, more than triple than I made last year. I got a number in my head, and I'm gonna tell you what it is at the end of this show. I have a number in my head that I strongly believe is no reason in the world that I can't hit it. If I stay focused, if I stay on top of it, if I go into it with the same level of dedication that I had last year, is no reason why I can't blow that out the water. And I also understand that there are certain people and a part of our culture that cannot come along with me. We growing in two different directions. It's no reason for me to subject myself to the same things that we already know is not going to be best for us long term. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? Why would I hang around people that I know that I wouldn't be surprised if I got a phone call saying, yeah, such and such, he got arrested for this? Why would I surround myself around women that I know have no good intentions? Why would I even entertain it? I'm just off that. I'm off whatever y'all on that then you can come back and say, well, I didn't know. I just don't want to be a part of it. Maybe it's not my fault. I'm never going to victim shame. But at the same time, you know that if you go out with a dress on or looking a certain way late at night, that it's a strong possibility people going to be looking at you as food. You know that if you keep on going back into the hood, they don't have no respect for you, but they're going to look at you as a come up. You know that if you keep on bringing people back to your house in order to bust them down that you met at the bar, it's a strong possibility she can drop your location off to somebody and then get you clipped off. Stop putting yourself in bad situations that may not go good for you and then say, well, I'm the victim. But you also know better. And so we have to be situationally aware. And don't say that I didn't tell you. So that's what's really happening out here in these streets in the beginning of the new year. And let me read some of the super chats and then we're going to go from there. Lamar H says, much love and respect for you, Anton. I've been watching you for a few years now. I'm growing and building knowledge and executing like normal business with a 9 to 5. The grind don't stop. Keep doing your thing, brother. And he's a chaser. Shout out to the chasers. Thank you, Lamar H. I appreciate you. Stephen WS says, Happy New Year. It's been 10 hours since the earthquake hit, 7.4 in Tokyo. Side Avery, what is that? Avery SGE 2.0, 3.0. I don't know what that last part means, but thank you for the insight. Yep, we covering it. Shout out to Steve over there in Tokyo, over there in Japan. Sharik 43 says, Happy New Year. What's going on in Georgia that they decided to cancel its New Year's celebration outside and move it to underground? Anyone live in GA? No, I'm not familiar with that. Send that to me. I got to figure out what that is. Winnovation is in the building. Says Pistons won the other day and made me 1,000. Just dropped 20 bones because the losing streak is over. Oh my god! You know what the worst part about that? They was over there celebrating like they had won the championship. They was hugging and man, I don't want to hear that, bro. Kobe would be disappointed. LaFleur says, join the Bag Chasers today. AD always be saying that the best time is joining the best time to join the Patreon is the beginning of the month. Congratulations, my friend. The link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Miss Tamara says, Happy New Year's. Looking forward to rocking out with you for another year by chance. Did you spot my email? I got all emails. I'm going through them. I'm going to make sure that I take care of them. I got y'all. Shout out to Miss Tamarez. I think you hit me off, too. We'll get into that. I got you. The Wealth Building Journal says to change your life, change your habits. It's that simple. The key to be consistent with building the habits through repetition, be intentional. You only got to be great today, and then you only got to be great tomorrow. It's one day at a time, all right? All right, let's continue on. So let me bring you guys up to speed of what's going on with regard to the crisis. What crisis, you say? The migrant crisis. Did you know that they're starting to catch migrants at the border with passports that's saying that they're minors and they're really not? Let me say that one more time. Did you know that they're catching migrants at the border with fake passports acting as though they are minors and they aren't? Rush Enterprise Starks, I appreciate you. I'm going to be reading that super chat shortly. Let me bring you up to speed of what's happening so that you can know exactly how this migrant crisis is playing out now that we're in the new year. New year, same game. Nothing's changed, just more of it.
Right now, hundreds of migrants arrived in the Chicagoland area overnight and this morning. Many arrived by bus or plane, almost all of them on very short notice. CBS 2's Darius Johnson has the story from the landing zone, where many are still awaiting shelter.
Throughout the day, hundreds have arrived here at the landing zone. You could see many of them are waiting on CTA buses that are also serving as warming shelters, as nearly 300 await placement. Hundreds of migrants arrive on New Year's Eve in the middle of a Chicago winter with no coats, some just flip-flops, and nowhere to go.
Last night and several nights before, a number of buses continue to arrive in the city of Chicago and throughout the country without any coordination.
Mayor Brandon Johnson on Face the Nation Sunday morning just after 350 migrants arrived on a plane to Rockford. He blames Texas Governor Greg Abbott for the unplanned arrivals.
Hey, shout out to Greg Abbott that keep the pressure on. He said we got a new fiscal budget, a new fiscal year. And the one thing we're going to continue to do is we're going to continue to give y'all what y'all need as far as these migrants is concerned. He got the PJ out there. That's the same type of plane that I think that Trump be flying on and Rick Ross. So they got the PJ out there and they getting to it.
And now he's taken on this very dangerous task of placing individuals on airplanes and flying them into our various cities.
Just after 1 this morning, 350 migrants from San Antonio arrived at the Rockford airport.
Happy New Year.
One of those on the ground coordinating efforts, Winnebago County Sheriff Gary Caruana, who says they got a heads up Saturday afternoon.
It did give us time to prepare, and we did prepare a plan. What the problem was they said they were going to get here around 9:30, and actually it was later. It was like 1:30 in the morning.
Once migrants arrived in Rockford, they boarded 8 buses for Chicago, all chartered by Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
We actually asked them from Winnebago County on I-90 through Boone County and then on into McHenry County, and that's where we dropped off and felt that they were safe, and then they moved on to allegedly Chicago.
Can you imagine you having to spend your New Year's Eve up all night because you have no clue when the next wave of migrants is going to land in your city, and that there's no way for you to stop migrants from being able to be flown and bused and trained into your city because Greg Abbott has shown you no mercy whatsoever? And you know, the other part of this conversation is that Texas is still getting more migrants than they're able to export out to Chicago, New York, and Denver. And he is having no mercy. This is a chess game that's playing out beautifully, because instead of Greg Abbott and Florida and Arizona and California, instead of them having to go and beg Biden for forgiveness and ask him to fix the border walls and go over there and talk to Kamala Harris, instead of that happening, what they're basically doing is they're using Chicago, New York, Denver, LA, Atlanta, and all of these other sanctuary cities to do their bidding for them. They don't have to go over to Biden or Cam because all they have to do is continue to send migrants over there, and they know that you're going to turn against you. You're going to eat yourselves alive. The liberal Democrats, super liberal Democrats that first was saying, yep, we want them over in our city, are going to eat themselves alive because they're going to turn against each other, because the residents of Chicago and Denver and New York is going to turn against the very people that they voted in the office that made the decision to continue to go along with this in the first place, which they now are banding together like Avengers to go against Captain America, who just so happened to be Biden, and his sidekick, Kamala Harris. And so they're leveraging and they're using their own tactics against them. And they said, oh, you a sanctuary city? Okay. Even into the new year, we're not going to have any slowdown. We're not going to have any mercy. We're going to continue to bombard you with exactly what you asked for going into the new year.
The city of Chicago says it had no knowledge of the arrival until it received a heads up from officials in Rockford. Overall, nearly 600 migrants are awaiting placement in the city, and nearly 300 are at the landing zone trying to stay warm on a cold New Year's Eve. Sheriff Caruana says better communication is required from those sending migrants to prevent these situations.
This is something that can be coordinated with the leaders of Winnebago County and the leaders in Chicago and make sure that it goes very, very smooth. I feel it did go smooth, but I want to have a pre-plan if this happens again.
Buffalo Grove and Oak Lawn are two suburbs that are currently working to put ordinances in place to prevent unscheduled arrivals of migrants. Buffalo Grove has a meeting scheduled for Tuesday. Oak Lawn has one set for next week.
And think about it, though. Now they're turning the suburbs against the cities, and the suburbs are now saying, hey, we don't like what y'all got going on down there, Brandon Johnson and Eric Adams.
Reporting in downtown Chicago, I'm Darius Johnson, CBS 2 News.
But let me flip it for you. So let me show you what else is happening out here in these streets.
Turn now to the latest on the asylum seeker crisis, growing even more tense overnight. 6 more buses filled with migrants arrived at Port Authority. This was just hours after Mayor Adams issued that new executive order requiring bus companies to give 32 hours notice before arriving in the city. No law enforcement action was taken this morning, but that will change going forward. Violating the executive order could result in fines, confiscation of buses, even jail time. Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles live at Port Authority right now in Midtown with more. Darla.
Michelle, that 32-hour grace period ended around midnight tonight, but as you mentioned, the buses that arrived overnight were giving a little latitude because that was an extended grace period. But the mayor's office says 32 hours is enough time to let them know via email that they are coming with a busload of migrants, because 32 hours is how long it takes to drive from Texas to New York City. The coast is clear near the intersection of West 41st Street.
How much y'all think these bus operators are making? Because if they can charge what they want and Texas is willing to pay for it, somebody in the chat said it, and y'all were absolutely right. And I love the chat because chat lives matters, and I love to interact with the people that participate on the platform. Somebody in the chat said it. They said it's so much money being made from this migrant crisis. From housing to administration to the healthcare system to bus drivers to plane owners, everybody. Who are these? Y'all know why they say that rich people don't flash money? Y'all want to know the truth? Because some rich people do and some rich people don't. is because they don't want to be scrutinized. The people that are really making the money from this, what you think that they want you to know that they making a lot of money from this? That's why wealth is quiet. It's not because they used to money. They stunt. Look. There is nobody that is more used to money than the people in Qatar and the people over there in Saudi Arabia. Some of the people that are benefiting the most, oil barons, UAE, Dubai. They say that Dubai, because I haven't been there, so I can't actually speak to it yet. Dubai is like the cheap part compared to the UAE. They say the real money is in the UAE. They promote Dubai from the tourism because that's where they want y'all to go. But the real money is over in the UAE. And guess what? Everybody is balling. They've been balling for so long. They children's children is still balling. And they are gaudy. They spend a lot of money. And the only reason most of these times where wealth is quiet, where people have to be more quiet, is because they don't want you paying attention to what they're doing in order to continue to finesse and get more money. So why would they put you up on game when they got a monopoly and you have no clue where all of the money is going? They getting the government contracts, they getting the bus companies. You got the nurses is making a crazy amount of money, the administration officials, everybody making money, and you looking around saying, yeah, most rich people is quiet. You ain't never been rich. You got an opinion about it, but you don't really understand that the reason that they quiet is because they don't want attention drawn to them because they want to keep on making all of the money. Now, when they have an opportunity to be a little bit more gaudy, they're going to be like Producer Michael. A lot of y'all not familiar with Producer Michael or Manny Kolschman, right? Manny Kolschman, look him up on YouTube. He's a huge car connoisseur because he has no reason to hide. As a matter of fact, him promoting himself makes him more money. And so it depends on what type of business and what type of industry that you're in. But more people are making more money from this migrant crisis. And I would also probably think that they're lobbying not to cut off the borders because then they're going to be cutting off their income. So then you have to follow the money and you have to ask yourself, well, who are the people that are really benefiting from what's going on with this migrant crisis? Your people that want to be stealth.
8th Avenue at Port Authority Friday. Buses packed with tourists came and left all day. As for those transporting migrants, not one in sight on the first day of a 3.5-hour window for drop-offs ended at noon. But some 12 hours earlier, 6 buses transporting hundreds of migrants showed up without any warning at all. This unscheduled arrival happening just after a 32-hour grace period ended to enforce new charter bus regulations. The mayor's office addressing the violations, saying moving forward.
Yep, you are absolutely right in my opinion. Jux Muniz 9 says legal. They said y'all not about to be doing the taking from us. Liam Nielsen, no. They're openly doing the same thing that they did to the marijuana market. Facts. Listen, put together your context clues and really start to understand what's happening out here. They're doing the same thing. In my opinion, this is nothing but a legal version of it. And so they took it and they monetized it, except for they couldn't sell it to you because you don't want migrants in your city. But this is basically what they're doing. Everybody got their hands in the pot. Everybody making a bunch of money. Somebody is benefiting. Biden hasn't said one word in months. Kamala Harris is going on tour and she hasn't said one word in months. I would say it's probably been since they got into office in years. The president and the vice president, who's supposed to be the border czar, has not said one word about the migrant crisis. They speak up about Ukraine. They got Zelensky inside of the White House asking for $60 billion. They getting the infrastructure deal passed. They got the CHIPS Act. They got Taiwan getting money, Israel getting money. They condemning people. They going off of after the Harvard president. They slapping cuffs, and the FBI is investigating Eric Adams over in New York. But not one peep is being said about these open borders and the migrant crisis. Not one.
The NYPD will be monitoring the loading zone outside of the specified hours and gathering evidence against these companies to potentially fine them and impound buses.
It's about collaboration and turning this disorder
Look at
into
these
order.
suckers.
Mayor Adams joining the mayors of Chicago and Denver
Suckers.
on CNN Friday morning, the second time in just 1 week. The three appearing in solidarity Wednesday when Adams issued an executive order for bus companies transporting migrants that requires at least a 32-hour notice, restricts drop-offs to Port Authority Monday through Friday between 8:30 a.m. and noon, and requires a manifest of everyone on board.
For everybody that votes for Biden, because I'm not telling you how to vote, I've already drawn my line in the sand on where I stand politically. So that's not a secret. But I'm also open to understanding or to dealing with people based off of where they are. I know that everybody has different reasons. The only thing that I ask people to be is educated voters. I want y'all to ask this question. For everybody that's thinking or considering voting for Biden and Kamala Harris for a second term, I'm not telling you that you shouldn't. I believe that it's your American right to do so. But I would ask you to do this. For everybody that goes to a rally or support it or want to send a donation or is going to lean in to vote this way, or your mama or your daddy is telling you to automatically vote Democrat just because you're black or all of this stuff, ask one question. Why are they leaving the borders open? And I'm not saying ask it to yourself. I'm saying you need to ask them. Ask the person that you're voting for. They're going to be doing their little debates, their moderations, whatever. Ask them that, only that question. Why are y'all leaving our borders open? How does this benefit us? If you don't ask any other question as a informed voter, ask that for me. Because it doesn't, if I ask it, it's like, oh, well, you know, he voting that way anyway, so it really doesn't matter. It's almost like somebody criticizing the church, but they ain't never been in the church. You know what I'm saying? They're not an active participant. They ain't never paid tithes and offerings. They don't really understand what the church is about. They ain't never went and help nobody. They ain't never seen nobody shouting tongues, get saved. So you don't understand the culture of the church. Even though I understand it because this is the culture that I was born into, I just want y'all to ask that question. If you don't ask anything else, don't be voluntarily ignorant. Hold your leaders accountable, because I am curious as to why they're doing this.
With that executive order,
I know why they're doing it, but I want them to justify why they're doing it.
we're saying that between a certain period of time, you are allowed to drop off migrants in the city, but you're going to do it at the location that we specify so we don't overtax our resources, our manpower.
But the true test.
And the liberal mayors, as they continue to hold Biden accountable, is still accepting migrants. Why are y'all not asking y'all local officials, your local elected officials? Why are y'all still even allowing for this to happen? Why are y'all still considering yourself a sanctuary city? What is going on? Why wouldn't you cut it off and say, listen, I'm a Democrat, but I also have to look out for the people that's here first? Why would they continue to let this go on even while they're sitting here holding Biden accountable? Why they don't cut it off? Why they don't say, listen, we renounce our sanctuary city status. We can't help nobody else. We can't put nobody else in a classroom. We don't have the room for it. We haven't planned for this. We don't have the budget for it. We're not being helped by the federal government. Why are they continuing to do this and then raising your property taxes in order to pay for it?
Of this executive order will likely happen during the overnight hours after 4 buses arrived without notice overnight Wednesday. And last week, the mayor's office said 14 buses arrived in the middle of the night.
Let me flip over really quickly. I'm going to make some additional adjustments. I see you, Ahmad. He said, could you turn the video up a little bit? We usually do that in post-editing because we don't have any control over how these news agencies are bad at editing and uploading their videos, and they really don't understand how to. These places is trash. But going forward, what we're doing is we're going to be making some adjustments to where we can then turn up the videos ourselves. So bear with us as we make changes. This is one of the things that we did identify and throw on a Kanban board for when I get back into the city. When I get back to Detroit, I'll be able to make that adjustment for you guys. But there's also migrants posing as minors with fake passports. Check this out.
All right, we have another Fox News alert. This one's big. Just in, December was a record month at the border, but we crossed a threshold of more than 300,000 migrant crossings.
I got
This
you.
has never happened before, according to Border Patrol sources. We have
Chat Lives Matters. I listen to my people. Shout out to everybody. We got over 1,800 people in here watching across multiple platforms. I appreciate y'all hitting the like button, tapping into the Patreon, and then getting your Teach Henley 30% off your first order plus a free gift.
never had more than 300,000 crossings in a single month. And if that's not bad enough, border agents in Arizona now warning about illegal immigrants using fake passports to pose as minors so they can enter the country and stay here. Former acting DHS Secretary Chad Wolf joins us now. Chad, this seems pretty specific and pretty on purpose. They're going to take passports. These are people from Guinea, going to change or alter the passports, maybe even with the help of their own government to create fake passports, all for the purpose of getting here and staying here. Explain to me what's happening.
Yeah, well, it's obviously very concerning. And anytime that you have such overwhelming numbers along that border, over 300,000 in the month of December, that is such an astronomically high number that it overwhelms the Border Patrol. And so the smugglers and the cartels, they know this. They're coaching individuals how to get across that border, how to alter passports if they need to so that they can be released into the country. So there's a number of things that are going on along that border that are very concerning from both a public safety and a national security concern. And again, just to go back to that number, 300,000, that is unprecedented. During the Trump administration, if we had 60 or 70,000 come across that border, we were very, very concerned. They're at over 300,000. The system is
In a month. That's not in a day. That's not in a week. That's not in a year. That's a month. 300,000. Look, even Obama wasn't going for this. Obama deported more people than anybody in my lifetime, if I'm not mistaken. Obama silently, I will give him, listen, I got to be objective. I am an objective creator. I am an objective content creator. That means that I'm not going to spin the narrative or change the facts to be one way or another. I'm just going to lean into it based off of what's really true. Obama deported more people than Trump. And nobody had a problem with it. And nobody said anything about it. They went after ICE, illegal immigration, went after more people at that time than ever before. They was getting people up out of here. They had no use for them. We had Americans that was unemployed. Unemployment was at an all-time high. And Trump then came in after Obama, did the same thing, and then they changed the narrative to be something that's bad when they literally leaned into it during the Obama administration. Nobody said anything. Nobody said anything. Check your facts. Go and look it up, y'all. If I'm wrong, I'll come back and I'll say, you know what? I was off. My responsibility to make sure that I apologize and give you the correct information. But based off of my understanding, Obama did more to get out illegal immigrants than any president before him, which Trump then capitalized off of. And then they said orange man bad. And they turned it into a political issue instead of turning it into an American issue.
is broken. The Biden administration has broken this. They've had 3 years to fix it. But unfortunately, every year gets worse. 21 was a historic year. 22 beat 21. And now 23 is beating 22. And so it just continues to compound on itself.
You're right, Geronimo. That's where it came from. The Kids in Cages tagline. It came from the Obama administration.
We're going in the wrong direction. Things are not getting better along that border. Things are getting worse.
Yeah, you know, I started this question with a question about migrants from West Africa. So it's not like just a bunch of people from South and Central America. These are people from all over the world coming. But now we're focused on this 300,000 number. This is a benchmark number. Obviously, it doesn't spell anything good. We've talked all week about how the current administration's policy is this notice to appear. They basically take people that are illegally here and they give them a permission slip to be here legally, which really violates our laws. With a number like this to end out this year, going into an election year, do you see the Biden administration changing anything when it comes to their border policy, maybe trying to reinstate remain in Mexico, or at least end this farce of the notice to appear, if somehow getting people here legally?
Well, they should be doing all of that. They should be changing their strategy completely because it's not working. Unfortunately, I don't hear anything different coming out of the Biden administration. You know, we had a couple of secretaries go down to Mexico City, but nothing really came of that. There were no new enforcement measures announced. There were no new policies announced, and that's what's needed along that border. The catch and release policy that they have reinstituted, which is releasing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of folks into the interior of the country every single day, is catastrophic. That's what.
If I wanted to get rid of somebody, right? Let's say I no longer wanted to, and this is just hypothetical, and I don't know for sure that this is what they're doing, but if I'm the leader of a country and I want to allocate more of my resources and my budget towards things that's more meaningful to me instead of wasting them on imprisoning and feeding and housing and clothing, because we know that it costs a lot of money in order to maintain a prison. And I had some undesirables in my country, and I knew that the American borders were open. What do you think that I would do? I'm telling you, me, as Anton Daniels, I am the president of a country that is competing with the world to try to do the things to try to get more resources, get a level up, get a leg up, get my economy stimulating, lower what it is that I have to spend on things that's not meaningful to what I got to do. If I'm the president, or if I'm the leader of a country that has a bunch of people, undesirables, that I want to get rid of, I am going to figure out how I can spend more money to get them over into America. At this time, there's never been a better time to do it. The border is wide open. I'm getting my prisons released. I'm changing. I would be helping the people of these situations get themselves over there in order to release myself of the burden of them. Why wouldn't I? And I'm not saying that's what other countries are doing, but that's exactly what I would do. Anyways, let me read a couple of the super chats, and then we're going to continue over with the show because I got some things that I want to continue to go over. I told you it's going to be a great year. Rush Enterprises Stark says, keep shining, King. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you for holding me down. Civ Lap is in the building. Civ Lap says, NYC and Chicago mayors are playing checkers, and the Texas governor is playing chess. And Biden is playing Connect 4. You know what I'm saying? Jacqueline Moore in the building says, I work with the migrants you don't see, not people of color, highly educated and speak multiple languages. They're very family-oriented and nice people. Aww. Let me tell you something, baby. I'm going to need them to go back to where they came from. I'm going to need them to go back to where they came from. Straight up. We'll get there. We got the whole year to go over this. Messy Mathematician says, want to wish Anton in the chat a happy new year. I'm looking forward to seeing y'all at the meetups and at the tour stops that I'm going to be doing throughout the year. Shout out to Messy Mathematician and all of my friends that's been riding with me since the beginning. We going to be in a great space this year, all right? All right, but before we get into the money, because I want to go into Cathy Wood, and a lot of people are not familiar with Cathy Wood, but I want to get into that in a second. First, I want to get into some law changes, and migrants are now officially being able to get health care coverage over in California. Take a look, y'all.
January 1st, California police officers are required to tell drivers why they've stopped them before officers can start asking questions. Supporters say it's designed.
Shout out to Bell. I'm definitely going to be reading that super chat shortly.
To reduce incidents in which police stop drivers for minor violations with the intent of searching the car for guns or drugs. Also new for drivers.
So let me back that up for a minute. These are laws that are taking effect over in California now officially in 2024. Number one, when the police walk up to you and they say license registration, do you know why it stops you? It's no longer a thing. Police officers are now required to tell drivers why they've stopped them before asking questions, which in my opinion can go left or right because it actually prevents the police officers from being able to do their job even more effectively, but that's neither here nor there. It's designed to reduce minor violation traffic stops with intent to search the vehicle. Now, I want my people that are doing illegal things off the street, and so that's the one part of it. See, the thing about laws, in most, not all, but in most situations, is that when you don't have anything on you or when you're not doing something that you're not supposed to do, you're not affected by some of these things that are happening to where they try to figure out whether or not somebody is over here trafficking a whole ton of cocaine. I don't carry illegal substances. I don't drink and drive. I don't have the same problems as everybody else, so I don't have the same worries. I never worried about the stop and frisk because most of the time I'm not walking into a hood, or I'm not in a situation where I'm worried about them finding something on me that I'm not supposed to have on it. Now, the other side of it is we do know that there has always been crooked police officers, and the human element of it does not make everybody right. So I will give you that. But in most instances, it doesn't bother me. But police officers are now required to tell drivers why they stopped them before asking them questions.
With the intent of searching the car for guns or drugs. Also new for drivers, ticketing speed cameras will be installed in 6 California cities in the new year.
So they offset it. Now, instead of the police officers being able to stop you, spend time giving you a ticket, they're trying to automate it by installing more technology to allow for them to be able to make more money and issue more tickets. So it's still a money grab, all right?
Including Los Angeles, Glendale, and Long Beach. The cameras will issue tickets to drivers going at least 11 miles per hour over the speed limit. The fine, at least $50 and as high as $500 if caught speeding over 100 miles per hour, regardless of the
scepter of Judah. This is a great one. Check it out. As a former police officer, this is terrible. The best arrest came from minor traffic violations. I found a person that was kidnapped on a minor traffic violation. But see, they don't want to talk about that part. They only want to run in the victim Olympics.
Speed limit. The cameras will be installed strategically to help reduce speeding and fatalities.
The most dangerous roads only and around schools and street racing corridors.
Changes, too, for retail stores across California. As of January 1, stores will be required to have gender-neutral toy sections.
Forgive me. Forgive my authentic reaction because I was not aware of this part. I did know about the police officers having to stop you and tell you why they stopped you. But I was not aware of the fact that California legislators spent time writing laws that require retailers to have gender-neutral toy sections. What? Jesus Christ, Lord have mercy. This country is going to hell. California is now requiring retail stores to have a gender-neutral toy section. I can't wait to fly to California to talk to retailers about whether or not they have a gender-neutral toy section and record myself doing it. Oh, Jesus Christ.
The new law will force stores to add this section in addition to aisles divided between boys' toys and girls' toys. Companies that violate the new law could face up to a $500 fine. In the workforce, beginning January 1st, employers must provide at least 40 hours or 5 days off each year for paid sick leave. This includes full-time, part-time, and temporary workers who meet certain qualifications. The sick leave can be used to recover from physical or mental illness or injury, to seek medical diagnosis, treatment, or preventative care, or to care for a family member who is ill or needs medical.
So basically, they saying that some people was just, you know, if you don't come in, you just don't get paid, but you can have the day off. But they're requiring for them to give them at least 40 hours of paid time off, so a week of paid time off.
Care. Also, the first of the year, California's minimum wage rises from $15.50 to $16 an hour. June 1st, Senate Bill 525 increases the minimum wage for California healthcare workers by an estimated 30% to at least $21 an hour. And
so if you work in a hospital or in any field related to healthcare, the cost for a hospital is going to go, okay, well, you know what they're going to do. They're going to pass that cost over into the insurance companies and to y'all. And so now you're going to go bankrupt if you don't have insurance and you get in a, you know what I'm saying, you got to go to the hospital or you got to go to the doctor because they're going to pass the additional cost over to the consumers. That's called inflation.
And starting April 1st, the minimum wage for fast food workers will rise to $20 an hour. Governor Gavin Newsom signed Assembly Bill 1228 into law in late September. He called it a significant breakthrough for the state's 557,000 fast food employees.
Listen, if you live in California and you are, nope. Some of y'all need to stay in California because you asked for this. This is the way you voted. And so you stay there. But for some of y'all good old-fashioned, red-blooded American folk that understand that we need to move differently, run for the hills. Get out of there. Don't stay. Now, don't come over to Michigan, but y'all need to go over to Las Vegas, go somewhere else where it's liberal too, over to Nevada. But I'm telling you, boy, fast food workers are going to be making at least $20 an hour in California. Fast food. That used to be a teenage job, like your first job. Like you're not really making no money, but you made enough money to be able to buy some shoes.
We have the opportunity to reward that contribution.
Shout out to Ashton. I'm going to read that super chat shortly.
Reward that sacrifice.
Marla Tejas, Fox 11 News.
Also, starting January 1st, California will become the first state in the nation to offer health insurance to undocumented immigrants.
Yo, California love. California, know how to party. California knows how to party. In the city of Paris. In the city of good old Watts. In the city of Compton, we keep it rockin'. We keep it rockin'. For those of you that we got over 2,000 people in here, we got the likes is abnormally low. 2,000 people across multiple different platforms. For those of you that just arrived, let me replay that part. I want you to know why I'm singing California Love. Meow, meow.
Marla Tejas, Fox 11 News.
Also, starting January 1st, California will become the first state in the nation to offer health insurance to undocumented immigrants.
Oh my God. Meow, meow. We keep it rocking. We keep it rocking.
Under the expansion, more than 700,000 people between the ages of 26 and 49 will be eligible for Medi-Cal. CBS 8's Rocio de la Fe takes a look at the new law and how immigrant rights advocates are reacting.
Immigrant rights advocates call the expansion of health care for undocumented immigrants a major milestone in California.
This is a really major step in California.
Advocates for immigrant rights are celebrating a monumental victory in the fight for more inclusive health care.
I'm so grateful again. I think it's really, really important to...
You see how that word inclusive now transitioned over into healthcare for immigrants. See, you thought that was a black thing. We want diversity, equity, and inclusion. Oh, okay. Well, then now your taxes is going to be paying for healthcare too.
Think about how big of a precedent this is for the entire nation.
Nettie Velasquez is the border policy coordinator at Alliance San Diego. She's a DACA recipient who has been fighting and advocating for health expansion for years.
A lot of undocumented people and, a lot of low-income people, because they don't have access to these resources, they wait until the very end to hopefully receive some care, and by then it's too late. And we shouldn't have to have people, waiting until.
I thought that people was going down to Mexico in order to get their healthcare stuff done. I know it's some chicks that wanted to get some BBLs, some people that wanted to get some teeth work, and they were saying that, yo, we going to Tijuana, we're gonna go get some stuff. Now you ain't even gotta go no more. Medi-Cal or pay for it.
They're feeling ill to go to the doctor. We should have preventative care, and that's why this is so important.
Those who are eligible will be able to qualify for Medi-Cal, the state's health insurance program for low-income individuals. Medi-Cal offers access to primary and preventative care, specialists, prescription medicine, and more.
They also deserve a right to have access to primary needs that.
They deserve it. They deserve a right to have access to primary needs. Listen. Any undocumented immigrants that want to have health care over in Michigan, all y'all got to do is go over to California and then qualify under the low income or the low poverty line, whatever, and you can get all of the preventative care that you want over in California. Yeah, you can. Yes, you can. Van life, here they come.
They don't generally have access to.
Undocumented people between the ages of 26 and 49 will be eligible for Medi-Cal. Velasquez says having
undocumented. Listen to what they're telling you. Undocumented.
The ages of 26 and 49
needs that they don't generally have access to.
Undocumented people between the ages of 26 and 49 will be eligible for Medi-Cal. Velasquez says having access to health care is a necessity the immigrant community shouldn't have to put on hold.
Is this not the greatest show? The greatest morning show in all of Earth? Let me get a round of applause for myself. For doing the research so that you guys don't have to. I just wanted to give myself some credit for going into the new year guns blazing and keeping you guys informed on what's happening across the country so that you won't be misunderstood, so that you won't be confused as to why the person that you voted in the office is raising your taxes. So you don't understand, so you can't misunderstand why California, which has a $60 billion budget deficit, is offering health care coverage to undocumented. Jesus Christ. What a way to kick off 2024. Let me read some of the super chats because I want to get to the money. It's not all doom and gloom over here at the Millionaire Morning Show. It's not all doom and gloom, ladies and gentlemen. We got all year to make sure that I keep you guys up to date and informed. The news, they can't mess with us. Regular TV has no clue. We over here at the Millionaire Morning Show do great work. And make sure you tap into the Patreon link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Oh my God, y'all just too cute, especially my Canadians. Shout out to Bell, says Happy New Year to you and your family. Wishing you nothing but great health, happiness, and prosperity in another year of winning. Shout out to the Chasers. I can't wait to make my tour stop in Canada for all of my ladies with their real hair. Shout out to my ladies with their real hair that's out in the Chasers. Y'all know we had 3 marriages in the Bag Chasers this year. That's a fact, though. Let me get another round of applause for the Chasers. I'm talking about meeting, connecting, and then marrying. We had 3 marriages inside of the Bag Chasers this year. That's a fact. Shout out to all of my married couples. Jamal Fowler says, I'm sliding into the new year like this. With a 2-ball. I see you. Gangsta lean. Ashton De Rojas says, SB2 is now in effect in California thanks to the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals, which effectively banned concealed carry in all places, including sidewalks in California, even though the Supreme Court said that they couldn't do that. Oh, you know the Supreme Court can do what it wants to do. It's outside of the federal Supreme Court. It's the highest court in your particular state. You know what I'm saying? Eric Harris is in the building, says they wonder why the wealthy leave in California because they don't want to continue to pay for y'all. Real Recognized Real is in the building, says we caught the Oklahoma bomber on a minor traffic stop, but no, he will probably still be running around out here if they was in California. Bernie's Rollbook Tour, shout out to Bernie's Rollbook Tour, says, did you see Chicago's new directive on not arresting youths? And it defines use of the 24. No, send it to me in an email. We're going to have to go over that, Bernie. Straight up. Prince Elian is in the building, says they don't want to solve problems. They create more problems in order to waste money on bogus solutions that cause more problems. The loop never ends. Except for in your pocket. Debt-Free Dad is in the building. I like that name, says HNY brother, keep doing the Lord's work. Thank you. P. Rothstein is in the building, says Anton, you the silliest ninja for the Roger Troutman California love ish. I'm done. 2024 is going to be great. Go Browns, go Lions. And then my dog, Hurt is in the building. Big Hurtification says, I'm from City of Compton, yeah. We keep it rocking. Born and raised, I left in 95 when I joined the military. Every time I go home to visit my parents, LA looks worse. The infrastructure is breaking down due to the overpopulation of illegals, and it is bad. I feel you, Big Hurt. I ain't even gonna cap. I feel you, Hurt. I understand what you're talking about. It's different. It actually gets better every single year over where I'm from. But, we gonna get there. Listen, it's one more thing. Actually, a couple different. I want to give a thought after the one more thing. But I seen this pop up on my timeline, and it's Cathy Wood. Now, Cathy Wood is a famed investor, and she controls a lot of money, literally billions of dollars in a hedge fund. And she's famed for making specific investments that have panned out, some not so much. But Cathy Wood is largely considered a celebrity in the investment world or the financial world, right? And Yahoo had an opportunity to sit down with her in order to get her insight into Bitcoin, AI, investments going into 2024 and the likes. And I have not seen it yet. And I said, ooh, this is right up our alley. I actually had another story planned for y'all, but then I seen Cathy Wood talking her talk and said, I gotta review this one. At the very least, before we get started into the new year, we gotta review Cathy Wood's thoughts together. All right, so this is what she had to say. Make sure you subscribe to the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. If you have not already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let's get it popping.
We're as optimistic about Bitcoin as we ever have been, but there are a few regulatory and tax uncertainties, and we had been waiting for the discount between GBTC and NAV to narrow. It was as high as 50% at one point last year when there was great uncertainty around all of the turmoil in crypto generally, and now it's single digit. And there are now other products out there that we can use to gain exposure to Bitcoin in this moment. And it's just a moment of uncertainty between now, we think, and January 8th to 10th, somewhere in that range, perhaps. But we, out of an abundance of caution, didn't want to take any risk.
And I mean, let's get a little bit specific here because we're talking about the ARK Next Generation Internet ETF. The ticker there is ARKW. And I think what caught a lot of people's attentions is that you completely sold down your remaining stake of the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. Instead, on the same day, you bought into the ProShares Bitcoin Strategy ETF. Of course, that tracks Bitcoin futures. It doesn't actually hold the physical Bitcoin. Can you explain that?
Shout out to Chris J. I'm going to read that super chat shortly. Some people are a fan of her, some people not so much, I see in the chat. Let's continue.
Shuffle, what was the thinking there?
Sure. A couple of things. First of all, BIDO, the ProShares, is already approved. There's no regulatory uncertainty having to do with it. So we chose to maintain our exposure through BIDO for the time being. And as I mentioned before, there are some tax and regulatory uncertainties still as part of this process. We don't know exactly who's going to be approved and whether they've met all the criteria.
Shout out to Qbert Rain. I appreciate you for the 100 ball. Definitely going to be reading that super chat shortly.
That the SEC has put before us. We know we have, but we don't know if others, including GBTC, have. We just don't know. So again, out of an abundance of caution, and GBT's discount, again, it was as much as 50% relative to NAV. So not only have we enjoyed this year the run in Bitcoin itself, but we've had the nice closing of that discount. So it's been, double good news for us.
But you've talked about January 10th, Cathy, I think in another report. Is that possible, whether it's you or somebody else, in terms of the first spot Bitcoin ETF actually getting approval?
Well, we think the probabilities have gone up because the SEC has
I see you, Marley Morrow said you're definitely not a fan. We're going to talk about it.
And highly engaged compared to what was happening before. Before, it was just denying approval. And we just kept putting our filing in again, try, dogged and determined. And so here we are. We think we're first in line, and that's why there is this January 10th deadline. But we like the idea that the SEC has been so engaged, and it's not just with us, it's others as well. We think a number of funds could be approved at the same time. And they've been asking not only one set of questions, but follow-up questions. And again, that's a very good sign.
Well, speaking of engagement, go ahead, please. No,
Yeah,
finish.
the last few questions have been very technical. And so more de rigueur, and you'd expect them to be asking these questions as we head toward an approval. Now, it's not 100% certain, and so we want to make that clear as well. This is the SEC, and we never know, what might happen along the way.
Regulators can be tricky, that's for sure. Hey, listen, you mentioned engagement. Let's talk about engagement with your funds overall, and especially the ARK Innovation Fund.
Let me stop there because I want to speak on every point as much as I can that she's made. She's basically saying that she's bullish on Bitcoin, and they've enjoyed the ride. And I know that Bitcoin has been enjoying a little bit of a ride going into 2024 in a general sense as far as the valuation of it. I'm not a fan personally. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what my mindset is. I have been researching feverishly and paying attention to different cryptocurrencies, blockchain technology, Ethereum, Bitcoin, the like, right? And I understand blockchain technology and that it's going to play a huge role going forward in the future, regardless of whether people hurry up and jumped on the bandwagon and then they crash out and all of that. Blockchain technology is always going to be here to stay. But I still do not fully understand the valuation of it. I don't understand where it gets its valuation at. See, I understand a stock, a publicly traded company's stock price, and sometimes it could be overvalued or undervalued depending on how you understand, the markets or how the market is going to react to it. I know we got to stop a lot of day traders. I know that cryptocurrency in itself is very volatile, and the value of it is based off of its popularity. But I truly do not understand how it truly gets its valuation. I don't. I'm a C student. Nobody has been able to explain it to me. I understand XRP also. But again, nobody up to this point. And here's my biggest point from that, is that I don't advocate for anybody, regardless of what an expert tells you, because you always have to do your own research. I don't advocate for anybody to invest in anything until they 100% understand it. I understand the valuation of different companies, and whether I agree with that valuation or not, or whether or not it's a growth stock, dividend stock, the earnings per share, the potential growth that comes along with it, the analyst expectations and everything. I can break all that down depending on which company that we're talking about to a T, to a science. I truly understand those companies. I understand that industry. I don't understand personally. And I'm never going to try to be the expert for everything. I'm just going to tell you the truth. Now, if you ask me to give you some insight on the automotive industry, if you ask me to give you some insight on certain technology companies, if you ask me to give you the understanding on certain banks, we can break that down to a science. And that's what we're going to have Stock Club starting this Sunday, this weekend. But all of these years of me doing research, and I'm going to still stay immersed in it because I am a fan of blockchain technology, nobody has been able to explain to me exactly what the valuation or where the valuation comes from as far as cryptocurrency. Yeah, it's a lot of people that probably got rich. It's a lot of people that went broke too, way more people that went broke. I don't care about the money aspect of it. I care about understanding something before I get into it. And I'm never, and this is the thing that I teach my people, I will never, ever tell people to, and I can't tell you what to do, but I'm never going to tell somebody to do something that I don't understand or they don't understand just because somebody else is bullish on it. That's my stance on it. Let's continue.
Up 72% year to date, easily outperforming some of the major market benchmarks. Still down 65% from the high back in February of 2021. For you, though, a lot of critics. We bring up your name, we bring up ARK, and you have a lot of fans and you have a lot of critics. There's a lot of discussion. Does it feel, though, a little bit like a victory lap this year?
Well, we are very happy that a couple of things have happened. That this idea that interest rates were going to continue moving higher has been proven incorrect. And I think even the Fed, while there is that small possibility, even the Fed is now starting to talk about the other side of the interest rate move. And so I do believe all we've seen so far is a reaction to that macro phenomenon or judgment call. We went through our flagship strategy, and all of our strategies went through a very difficult time from February 21 through December of 22, as interest rates, first of all, were presumed to move up or forecasted to move up. And then when they did move up, so it was almost like a double discounting. And so we've seen the first installment of the correction there to the upside for our funds with this notion, and it's again the forecast that interest rates will come down. And we would presume that if they do come down, for the reasons we think they're going to come down, the most important one being deflation, then our funds will be in good shape because we are our companies thrive on deflation. Technologically enabled innovation is deflationary.
So, Cathy, a very good morning to you. It's Manus, first time we've met on. So we're going to move to a deflationary environment. We'll come back to the big macro call in a moment. Just let's square it away before I talk to you about the flows in the funds, which is how much interest rate cuts do you presume are you forecasting? Leave the forecast of everybody else aside. What do you presume will happen next year?
Well, we put up a chart in one of our in the nose, which is a YouTube video that I do every month, Employment Friday. And in that chart, you will find a ratio. It's the metals to gold ratio. So metals price to gold price. And there has been an extremely tight correlation between that ratio and long-term interest rates. In October, we published it, or early November. And what you will see is that there was a very wide gap that had developed. The metals to gold ratio was near its low for the past 12, 15 years. And interest rates were at their highs, 5%. The correlation, if you just eyeballed that chart, the correlation suggested that rates should go to 2%. Now, maybe they won't go all the way to 2%, but we think that long-term interest rates are way above where they're going to end up because of deflation.
Which will actually drive up the valuation of a lot of these companies, which is why everybody is expecting 2024 to be a big year. The Fed has been signaling, and everybody has been signaling that the Fed is going to drop rates. they're going to drop rates and interest rates are going to come down. People are advocating for it. They think that this is the thing that's going to help stimulate the economy. I think that it's also going to cause more inflation because the only weapon that the Fed has against inflation literally is raising rates, right? And rates aren't even as high as they were at different points in history. But that is going to cause, and people are preparing for that, that is going to cause basically, quote unquote, a gold rush and people having this fear of missing out and people continuing to think that money is very cheap, which then incentivizes them to spend more money or to finance more or to pull more money out of the banks. And it kind of stimulates the economy. But there's a gap between the valuation of precious metals, gold, and also the interest rates. And so that's going to be the thing that inspires or it's going to incentivize people to move a certain way when it comes to their investments and their consumer spending, which ultimately benefits the banks.
So we'll come back to that and see whether we get to
Yeah,
the
it's
2%
gonna be a
level.
big
I'm going
year.
to ask you about the flows into the funds, which is obviously, you know, as Carol just said, you've got a bit of a victory lap going on at the moment, but this is the first year of outflows.
I don't think that they should lower interest rates. All of the people that's looking to make a whole lot of money is looking for them to lower interest rates. I don't think that they should lower interest rates.
Have those outflows stopped? You've had a great performance in the back part of this year. Have the outflows stopped? And has that bleed stopped?
Yes, well, we were very gratified at our asset retention in 21 and 22. In fact, we had net inflows, if you combine both years, of more than $18 billion. And this year,
So more money flowed into ARC than went out of ARC.
Might expect that those who average down into the very steep declines that we were seeing in 22 especially might take some.
And everybody was losing out in 2022. So I know that some people in the chat were saying, well, she made some bad calls. You couldn't miss in the beginning of the pandemic. Everybody, I think I made a 63% return on my portfolio. I've never in my entire life, ever had a 63% return. I had the best years of my life during the pandemic as far as my investment in my portfolios. But then everybody, you know, it's always going to be a pullback, but you never ever look at the pullback as the same way that everybody else does. You look at it as an opportunity to invest more money because you didn't have to do anything. So you just bought more of whatever it is that it was. And so the outflow is, I guess, what she's referring to in from 2022 was the pullback or the drawback as far as how much her portfolio suffered, once that bull run started to end at the end of 2021.
Profit. So we have had, I know for our flagship strategy, it's roughly $500 million in outflows, maybe for all of our strategies, 1.8 million. So maybe 10% of the inflows that we enjoyed during 21 and 22. So again, we're very gratified and grateful to our clients for the support that we continue to receive.
So has the outflow stopped?
We have had days of, on balance, very recently, yes. And I think part of this is many.
So no, it hasn't stopped. But come on, man, don't finesse me.
People do tax management toward the end of the year, and so some of the outflows might have been associated with clients who got in at a high cost base and were just harvesting some tax losses. But I think we're through that.
Do you find it a little surprising, though, Cathy, considering the run-up, or I'm curious about the conversations you do have with investors, considering the year that you're having, and then to see those flows. It's got to be a little disheartening. Yeah.
Oh, no, not at all. Actually, we put out a piece for Resolute, our distributor, who, and we basically showed to them, if you rebalance our strategy when there have been big moves one way or the other,
I just wanted to talk about AI.
Rebalance regularly, or based on a rule like when the fund's up 15% relative to everything else, take some profits. And what that study showed that if you are disciplined that way, that over any rolling 5-year period, it is highly likely, almost 100%. I'm not quite sure if it's quite that high, but that you will beat the market, meaning as measured by the NASDAQ or the S&P, over a rolling 5-year period. And so a lot of our funds are with advisors who are very sophisticated and responded somewhat, perhaps in this tax management part of the year, to that message.
Listen, very rarely do I find anybody on an individual level over a long period of time. I'm not talking about having one good year or something like that, right? Very rarely do I see people actually beat the S&P 500. Very rarely do I see people over a longer period of time beat the S&P 500, but that's just me.
I feel like we have to talk about Tesla and Elon Musk. And I know you just had a conversation on Twitter, X. This has been, I think, from day one, right, in terms of you starting out, that you've had this investment in Tesla. And I remember when we first talked and you were getting started, you talked about him being the next Thomas Edison and how his vehicles would turn the U.S. economy upside down. Having said that, there's an evolution and the EV world has changed. How are you thinking? It's still a top holding. How are you thinking about the Tesla story right now?
Well, first of all, Carol, thank you very much for letting me interview that time. That was nearly 10 years ago. ARC is about to celebrate its 10th year anniversary, and you gave us that opportunity, so thank you. The world is evolving, actually, I think, even more closely to what we expected. Because we expected a lot of traditional auto manufacturers to see the writing on the wall.
Dave Ramsey said he beats the S&P 500.
And rush as quickly as they could into scaling.
Jay Reed says stocks is the best investment, even better than real estate. No, it's not. No, it's not. Not even close. Not even close. No, it's not. In my experience, there has been nothing better than real estate. Nothing has been better than real estate for me personally.
Time into electric vehicles. And what has happened recently? Both GM and Ford have said, we're stepping back. We're not going to do this until it's profitable. The problem with that is, in order to be profitable, they need to scale. That's how this works. These are learning curves that they are riding down, and those are expressed in cost decline. So the fact that they're pulling back means there's more share for Tesla and others who choose to go for it.
And Cathy, I want to keep the conversation going on Elon Musk, but I want to bring it to the ARC Venture Fund. Of course, it's not an ETF. You invest in private companies, et cetera, in there. And you take a look at the portfolio, you have SpaceX in there, and you also have X, formerly known as Twitter. And in July, you had told the Wall Street Journal that you had written down your Twitter stake by 47%. Fill us in on the past couple of months. Have you written it down further, or how has that changed?
No, I think it's
I wanted to go into AI. I don't care about that.
Amazing, good news.
One lands, but let's talk a little bit more about the private markets, because obviously the private credit market has gotten a lot of attention right now. You're looking at the private markets through this interval fund that you have. When you think about the opportunities there on that 5-year horizon that you have, do you see more so in the public markets or in the private markets right now?
Now that we've had this very nice run this year, we think the answer to that question is in the private markets. They're close. They're close. Was 20.
Musk, brilliant, but also erratic. And I'm curious how you think about Elon, the individuals, versus Elon, the companies he's creating, the things he's doing. Because I think if there is time, any other CEO of a major publicly held company would, I think it's safe to say, not be able to get away with a lot of what he has done. So help us, educate us, how you make sense of it, of someone you have followed, talked with.
I want to hear it. I want to hear her.
Is he above Elon, or is he at the money? You've got Elon, you've got Brian, you've got Tony Wood at Roku. Does anybody come close to Elon, or is Brian Armstrong maybe even at the money with Elon or above?
Well, we don't actually look at the world that way, one relative to the other in terms of management team.
$80 billion to $100 billion. Will you take a position in OpenAI? Is that going to be part of your holdings as you explore the next development of AI in your holdings?
Well, in our private portfolios, we are already exposed to Anthropic, which has been a major beneficiary of the drama around OpenAI that we all witnessed a few months ago. But if you look at GPT-4, which is the latest large language model that OpenAI has published, it is way above others in terms of performance. So there you have it, the pros and the cons. So we can't tell you what we're going to do in that portfolio, but we are so impressed at how OpenAI has led the industry. We're also impressed, however, at the open source models, and we'd like to encourage more of that movement. We know that Meta Platforms has with Llama 2, and it's working on others, is moving very quickly and making great strides. So for much lower cost, open source is free, companies can get close, not right at GPT-4, but close. So we want to see the open source movement. In the venture fund, we also own.
Kathy, we've got to.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Man, they should have just let her keep going. Let her rock out. But okay, so obviously I'm a Microsoft fan, so I'm heavily invested in Microsoft. I'm heavily invested in Meta. Obviously, I think artificial intelligence, or AI, is going to play a huge role. You see that Microsoft righted that ship when the OpenAI founder and CEO was ousted, and Microsoft took control of that real quick and put him back in. But allegedly, there's some technologies that's happening, and OpenAI is so far ahead of everybody else as far as artificial intelligence and language models that there's some fear that they have technology that's way beyond anything that anybody could imagine. And I can't imagine what that is, but Microsoft is heavily invested in them. They have a vested interest in seeing them successful. I'm just going to stay with Microsoft specifically. I think that they have been one of the best performing companies. I am invested also in chip companies, NVIDIA. I think that they're great. I've actually divested a lot of my portfolio as far as where I am in the automotive sector. And I like to invest based off of sectors, not just companies. I invest based off of sectors. And I've divested a little bit or a lot of my portfolio from Tesla and started to put it into Rivian. Last month, November over to December, Rivian did me over a 40% return on my portfolio. And I was actually talking to Ian Dunlap, who some of y'all may know as master investor over at Earn Your Leisure. And I was sending them some stuff and saying, hey, man, you might want to take a look at this and so on and so forth. So my long-term play in the automotive sector, and I'm not telling you guys what to do. I'm not an advisor, is Rivian as far as the automotive sector. Well, I'm not going to talk about any of this. I'll talk about it in Stock Club. We'll debate about it. We'll go over it. I'll post a link to what we're going to do for Stock Club this weekend inside of the Patreon. The Patreon link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. We'll talk about that. But let me just give you my final thoughts really quickly, and then I'm going to read Super Chats, and we'll get up out of here. I have some pretty lofty goals this year. And I don't even usually go over my goals based off of a yearly thing, right? I don't stop. I don't look at weekends the same way that everybody else does. I don't look at the new year as like a new start, doing resolutions and things. I just continue to ramp up. My goal and the way that I move, and again, I was telling you guys about this last week, is I operate based off of an agile methodology. Now, I'm process oriented when it comes to my lifestyle, meaning that I believe that you installing processes in your life allows for you to continuously be successful and have that consistency. Because whether you're doing content creation or whether you're investing, it's the consistency that then gives you the chops, or it's the consistency that gets you over to the success. And so anybody that's been following me for an extended period of time, you understand that is true, right? But my agile methodology has also allowed for me to pivot and focus more on a project-oriented mindset when it comes to my investment strategies, right? When I say investment strategies, it's not just the companies, it's not just the businesses that I'm building, but it comes into place when we're talking about agile methodology. Now, a lot of people are not familiar with agile methodology, and it's much different than waterfall, right? But just a quick crash course. Agile, there is no specific goal. You're just constantly iterating. And there's ways that you manage it, right? And a lot of people use Jira. Some people use Jira in their organization. A lot of people may have a different type of Kanban board, but a Jira and a Kanban board allows for you to create these cards and you assign points to them that then you move or you set up your new goals based off of, most of the time it's a bi-weekly goal. So it's an every 2-week goal. So you get a chance to iterate or a chance to develop. Now follow me and don't get caught up in the terms. I'm going to break it down from a C student's perspective. But you don't go in a waterfall method and that there's a real end goal. And once we complete this project, it's done and we're going to send it out to the people. What we found, right, as we continue to go into this technology-driven world, whether you're dealing with applications or you're dealing with anything, is that you basically have to adopt an agile methodology to where the project never really ends. You're just continuously iterating in it. So there's not a big bang. There's not a big redesign that comes along with it. What you're doing is constantly improving and changing based off of the feedback that you get from whatever application that you're working on or whatever project that you're working on. So we see cars, for example, continue to get better every year. You see applications, they drop new releases or they drop a new software update for whatever it is that you're using. And what that allows for you to do is just continuously improve and add value to whatever it is that you're doing. And so I take the same approach to my personal life and even when it comes to content creation, right? So for example, my goal isn't to, oh man, I need to get to 1 million subscribers. I don't look at the subscriber numbers. I want to constantly improve on what I'm doing to add value to people. I want to constantly grow as far as the type of presentation that I'm putting out to you guys. I constantly reinvent or change the times that I want to drop certain videos depending on what time my audience is up. And I'm using the data and the analytics to determine that, right? And so I have some goals and they're lofty goals, but they're all based off of insight that I got from all of the things that I accomplished last year. I think that it's not unreasonable because we're slightly above 50,000 on Instagram for us to be above 100,000 followers on Instagram. Is no reason in the world that we can't double the more than 100 million views that we got across multiple different platforms on YouTube to well over 200 million and be trending towards 250 million views in 1 year. There's no reason why we can't grow the After Hours channel now that we've been able to basically model it and then improve upon it based off of the insight that we got from what we learned from the Millionaire Morning Show and then the Anton Daniels channel to then take the best of it and then modify it according to what that audience is expecting over there, right? So when you're developing your goals or you're continuously iterating, and I don't want you guys to have a resolution because what will happen is when you don't hit your goal or you mess up on your eating or you mess up on what it is that you wanted to do or your financial goal, you'll completely just shut down and say, oh, well, I didn't accomplish it. I'm not going to the gym no more, or I'm not going to continue to invest the way that I was, or I took a loss or I took an L. And then you'll just forget about it and you'll be doing the same thing next year. I want you to take more of a mindset that you're constantly iterating, that you're constantly growing, that you're constantly modifying the method by which you're doing things. And even when you have something that you may not necessarily be as successful in or it didn't hit the way that you thought it was going to hit, you can revise that and then you can make it more of what you want it to be based off of the learned lessons. And in any agile environment, it's the learned lessons that you have at the end of that 2-week sprint that then allows for you to then make adjustments and do better the next time that you go into a 2-week sprint. So when we say agile methodology, because I told you guys not to get caught up in the terminology, right? We're talking basically about, if you want to break it down to a brass tacks, we're basically talking about every 2 weeks or every week, however you want to look at it, and everybody should have a Kanban board. A Kanban board is basically like, it's a digital version of just taking sticky notes and saying what you want to accomplish over that 2 weeks and what can you accomplish over those 2 weeks. And then you gauge how well you'll be able to fare. And then you come back after those 2 weeks, you say, okay, this is what I accomplished. This is what I didn't accomplish. And this is how I need to make adjustments based off of what I'm projecting myself to be. And you compare that with your schedule. And so when you're talking about iterating, I want you guys to start looking at this in 1 week and 2 week segments. We call them sprints, but 1 week and 2 week segments. meaning that I want you guys to start setting goals not based off of what you want to accomplish for the year. I want you to start setting goals based off of what you want to accomplish over the next 1 to 2 weeks. That's the only thing that we care about, because the project, you, is forever. You will always be growing. You will always be iterating until the day that you die. And more importantly, you're setting together, or you're putting together the foundation by which your family or the people that come after you while you're alive and after you pass have to fall into that structure to continue to keep whatever it is that you built for them alive, or to keep it thriving, or to continue to have estate planning. What you're basically doing is taking a long-term dream, and then you're breaking it down into milestones, and then you're going in and you're iterating based off of those 1 week and 2 week sprints. It'll keep you more consistent. It'll give you more encouragement. You'll start to see goals because you'll have things that you accomplished and smaller things that you can hang your hat on and say, yeah, I accomplished this, and I'm motivated to continue to go forward, because you'll constantly be seeing growth. If you looking at this and saying by the end of December 2024, this is where I want to be at, you don't really have any milestones to break down to measure yourself against how far you are from that goal. Whereas when you're iterating on a weekly basis, or on a monthly basis, on a bi-weekly basis, it allows for you to actually have some measurables based off of your history. You can go back and say, well, last week I accomplished this, I dropped this many videos, or I saved this much money, or I was this disciplined with my budget. And then you can make adjustments and tweak it, and then you could be more effective, and you can take those learned lessons and be greater at what it is that you was doing versus what you was doing last week. And so I want us to take this agile methodology when it comes to our lifestyles. We are constantly iterating. We're constantly reevaluating ourselves. We're constantly setting smaller goals. You don't have to be great for the whole year. You only got to be great for that week. You don't have to be great for the whole year. You only got to be great for two weeks, right? Take those same methodologies and basically slice up your life and have real measurables. Get your calendar together, right? Start getting your life goals together, and then start breaking that down based off of where you would. I already know when I'm going to start touring, or I'm projected to do that. I already know exactly where I'm going to be from a numbers or expectations as far as what my budget is, which allows for me to then make more informed decisions as to how much money I'm going to give over to the IRS, or how much money I have to reinvest back into my businesses to prevent myself from then having to pay too many taxes and not getting anything back in return for it. I know the cars that I'm going to buy. I know the trips that I'm going to take. I know how many business trips I have to take. I know how many tour dates I'm probably going to do. We got a general idea, but we're going to continue to get more clarity as the year goes on. Right? I know how much money I plan on investing back into the bag chasers as far as investing in your businesses. And it's all based off of that constant iteration and then projecting things based off of that new information, right? So if you're confused about this, I want you to replay it. And all I'm telling you to do is create smaller goals, to have documentation that you can measure yourself against, and then to continue to be successful based off of just those smaller goals, because the smaller goals roll into the bigger goals. And then before you know it, next thing you know, you got a positive net worth, you're more successful. Then you have bigger problems, because the bigger problems is how much money do I have to get rid of so that I ain't giving this money over to the federal government. I want you guys to continue to grow. I don't want you to be at the same space. I don't want you to continue to have these small time conversations. And I think that the baby steps is awesome. I think that Dave Ramsey is awesome. I think that what he's doing is getting you up to the starting line. But there's another level, and you have to compartmentalize that information so that you can make more informed decisions. I seen somebody in the chat earlier, and they said, well, the market is the most successful vehicle for you to be able to make a lot of money versus real estate. I would say that you just probably don't know any better, because you're not really familiar with how beneficial real estate is for you, even from a tax perspective. All of the tax havens, or the interest, or the write down of the property, the depreciation and stuff that you can take from that property, or the pulling from the property in order to not have to pay the taxes, because you don't have to pay taxes on the money and the equity that you have in the property that you pull out in order to really be able to live the lifestyle that you want, right? And so there's levels to the game. There's rules to the game. And you can't just have this small thinking mindset. A lot of y'all sit here and you complain and you say, well, the gatekeepers ain't giving me the information. You don't even subscribe to the Patreon, where they're having all of these type of conversations inside of the Discord. You're not even going to be a part of Stock Club. You can't kick it with me in person because you don't have access because you won't even invest in yourself. So all I'm telling you is that there's always another level. No matter where you are in your life, there's always another level. You got to invest in yourself. You got to take some time out and plan out your life. And then you have to create measurables that you'll actually have milestones that you have to hit on a weekly basis that allow for you to be much more successful. Agile methodology is forever. It's constant iteration. You never get rid of the product. Facebook didn't stop iterating. It just continued to grow into what it is today. Microsoft didn't launch the product and then they said, okay, we're done. They continue to iterate to whatever it is that they did. Now they're a part of OpenAI, ChatGPT, right? They've transitioned. They bought LinkedIn, right? They made LinkedIn a part of their strategy as far as really understanding where people at and what they need in order to continue to grow. They continue to iterate their older products to now be subscription-based, which is the entire Microsoft suite with Excel and PowerPoint and Word, right? Now they've implemented, right? Because what if they'd have stopped? They've implemented cloud infrastructure that allow for them to compete against AWS. That cloud infrastructure now powers what's going on with their gaming devices and gaming systems that basically put GameStop and all of these other Best Buys and Radio Shacks out of business because you don't have to actually go in and buy the games anymore. And then they're continuously iterating. Imagine where they'll be 10 years from now. Imagine what Amazon will be 10 years from now. Imagine where you will be 10 years from now if you continue to have this iteration mindset to where you're never a finished product, but you're just continuously growing based off of the understanding that you have. And now that you can go back and you can look at your learned lessons and then make adjustments going forward. We're all just works in progress, but we don't look at ourselves like that because we put these long goals out there that's nothing that we can really measure ourselves against. And then that's how we find ourselves in a hamster wheel. When I got real things that I'm trying to achieve based off of these 1 and 2 week sprints, it allows for me to be a lot more successful and then I can measure myself. And then next thing you know, you look up and you're rich as hell. You're rich as hell. So I want you guys to change your mindset. More than I want you to create actual goals for yourself, I want you to change your mindset to have an iteration type of mindset instead of this long-term goal that you know that you're not going to do and you're not going to accomplish because you've been doing that for the last 10 years. I want you to have this iteration style mindset that allows for you to really grow. And I'm giving you the secrets to success. I'm giving you the secrets of how people are successful long term. I'm showing you how I manage my teams. I'm telling you what I do when I go into corporate America on a daily basis without actually having to tell you, right? Take the lessons, take the jewels, and don't even go based off of whether or not you like me. Replay this. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. And we're going to grow together. It's an iteration. A lot of y'all are not even familiar with the fact that if you look at this live stream today, it's a completely different image that I used in the background as far as during the Millionaire Morning Show. Then I know it looks very similar, but it's more crisp, right? It actually gives more definition. It hits harder. Here, let me show it to you. If you look at this, that background image is much different than the background image. Just a small thing. The bezels on this are smaller, right? We did some measurables going into the end of the new year, and we did some comparisons as far as showing people, and we did an A and B testing like we usually do when it comes to user experience. We did A and B testing with different people out in the streets of Miami and in Detroit before we came here. And we said, hey, when you look at this, which one do you like better? And what do you like about this? And what don't you like about this? Right? We made some modifications. We implemented it. We tested it over at after hours. And then we implemented some new things over here. And so we're not just going with big bang changes. Everything that we do over here is an iteration process. It's changing slowly to where you don't realize that it's changing. All you realize is that you're getting a great experience every single day. We're updating everything that we do, and that's how you need to be living your life. Updates every day. Every single day you need to be iterating. Every single day. And then measure yourself against those things so that you can be a lot more successful going forward. All right? I love you guys. I appreciate you. Hopefully you see value in what we're doing over here at the Millionaire Morning Show. We're going to be really tearing it up inside of the Patreon. So make sure you tap into the Patreon. The link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Teach Henley 30% off your first order plus a free gift. If you have not supported the sponsor, I would never pitch anything to you that I would not be using myself. I love you. I appreciate you. Let me go ahead and read some of these super chats, and then we're going to get out of here, y'all. All right? Great start to the year. I'm glad to have you guys with me. We're going to run it up. Shout out to Chris J. Chris J says, shout out to the Chasers and Happy New Year. My dog, Cuba Rain. Shout out to Cuba Rain. Says, happy New Year, brother. Thank you for all that you do. All the best to the Chasers. No, thank you. Thank you, honestly, for supporting this platform and being a beacon of light for what we're doing over here at the Bag Chasers. I love you. I thank you. Thank you for being a part of what we're putting together. You are absolutely positively awesome, and I cannot show my appreciation anymore than to just saying thank you, because I don't ask you guys to support the platform in the way that you do. You guys see value in what we're doing, and you continue to have this conversation with us. LT Hulk says, Big Bro, XRP is the future of cross-border payments. Maybe. You're going to have to sell me on it. You're going to have to teach me. CJ Mose says, real estate is only beating stocks if you have $1 million team financing, scouting and developing properties. The layperson can win with stocks. No, you can win with stocks. Just tell me that you're not understanding, and I can help you to understand, and I can teach you how you can win with stocks. You don't need $1 million team in order to win with stocks. I don't have a whole lot of people working with me. I just leverage my capital. We'll get into it. I'm going to teach y'all. We got a long year going on. Greg Charlie says, drop pinging to say Happy New Year. Let's make 2024 a great one. Shout out to you, my friend. Sick Lid says, most billionaires make the majority of their money from the stock market. Warren Buffett is famous for beating the S&P 500 most of the time, and he has never owned any Microsoft. I don't think that it's a problem that he's never owned any Microsoft. I think at a time, he never owned any Apple until he bought into it, because Warren Buffett's investment strategy is that he never buys into something that he does not understand first. Warren Buffett was more of a, he invested in Coca-Cola. He invested in insurance companies. Go and read Buffettology. And then he also has an autobiography that you can read, and also study Charlie Munger. A lot of people don't really understand. He's not just investing in the stocks. He understands compound interest. I don't have time. I got to go over that. Listen, most people, the wealth that they have is in their home and it's in real estate. That's a fact. Most people that are day trading, and when you make a stock investment, you have to make a long-term investment, right? He doesn't pull his money out, and the majority of his resources was tied up in Berkshire Hathaway, all right? But I'll go into that in another show. Shout out to Sick Lid. I appreciate you. Louis Blackshear says, any suggested Kanban apps, also a bag chaser? You could just Google it. I don't know right off the top of my head. We usually use Jira. We usually use Jira, right? So Jira is more of a enterprise application that we use, and so that's all that we've been using. But you can use, they really got good Kanban apps that you can utilize on your web app, and that you can also adapt to your iPad or your phone device. So, just Google it and you'll find some, and just figure out the one that works best for you. Shout out to Louis Blackshear. Tech Coach Ralph says, we'll do a fireside chat and the Bag Chasers Discord breaking down Agile methodology soon. I do my own daily stand-up daily to keep myself on track. So you do a stand-up too. Shout out to you. And I'll be a part of that fireside chat too. So we got to figure out what that date is. Wealth Building Journey says, wealth building happens in 3 main ways: as a business owner, as a rent-seeking real estate owner, as a stock owner. The common theme is ownership. I got an opinion on that, but I'm going to save it. BGCVTan says, Happy New Year, Chasers. Love the wisdom, Anton. And I love you too for continuing to roll with me. Thank you to everybody that support the platform. All right. Sometimes I think that I go too hard with the level of information that I give for free, but I'm expecting to push y'all harder this year. I know y'all got a lot of these people out here that think that they understand how money works, how they understand how corporate works, how they understand building a business works. And some of them are good, and some of them is just regurgitating stuff that they don't know anything about, all right? So be careful who you listen to. We going hard this year. We running it up this year. I can't wait to be able to kick it with y'all and do live shows in person. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. And, 2 things. Q show tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern. All right, that's number 1. Number 2, I'm not sure what time I need to check out tomorrow. I'm trying to get a late checkout. So I got to figure that out. But it's a strong possibility we will be doing an early show tomorrow, probably 9 a.m. Eastern. Because, I can't miss. I just can't miss. I'm not going to sit here missing. It's a strong possibility we might do an early show tomorrow. So it may be 9 p.m. Eastern that we may be doing our show tomorrow, or 9 a.m. Eastern that we might be doing a Millionaire Morning Show tomorrow. Either way, we are doing a live stream tomorrow. And it might not be at 11 o'clock. It might not. It might be at 9 a.m., depending on what time my checkout is. So let's just bank on 9 a.m. tomorrow. Make sure y'all tap in. I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. I need y'all to do me one more favor before we get up out of here. My dog AL says, if you had $1,500 to start, how would you become a millionaire? I would invest it in myself, and I would go to community college. I would pay off my debt, and I would lower my lifestyle. I don't think it's a certain amount of money that you need in order to become a millionaire. I think it's a mindset, and I think it's a lifestyle change that you need in order to become a millionaire. It's not a certain amount, right? First thing that I always say is get rid of the debt, lower your lifestyle, and then increase the amount of money that you make by investing in yourself. Those are the number 3 things that you have to do at the very beginning. Lower your lifestyle, get rid of your debt, because that then is the thing that supports your lifestyle. And then you got to invest in yourself to get a bigger shovel to make more money to be able to deploy into your investments. All right. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Marcus Hill says, reached out back in October, 3rd to be exact. Never got a response. I'm looking to be pushing 2024. I'll follow up again. Send me that email. I got you, big dog. I love you guys. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at y'all later. Peace.